Hello everyone, good afternoon, rather good evening everyone, and welcome to this unique conference today, uh, purely focused on technology. This conference today will be addressing more or less the key issues, or rather the key vision that all of us should have, or rather should start working towards, bringing in disruption using technology in our profession. Whenever we talk about technology, one name that comes to our forefront is C. Anil Bhandari. The one who's been leading a lot of technology innovations with us, and someone who's driving the technology upgrades and technology platform. The entire committee called as Digital Accounting and Assurance Board Committee. The chairman of this committee, C. Manu Aggarwal ji, is with us. I welcome both of you in this conference today. Today we have with us the dynamic chairman of WIRC CA Lalit Bajaj. So this program today is being conducted by the Digital Accounting Assurance Board of ICI, hosted by WIRC. Under the dynamic leadership and vision of Lalit Bajaj, we are having this program, and I also have with me regional council members Jayesh Kala, CA Umesh Sharma, CA Yashwant Kasar with me over here today. To start off the session, I would request the chairman to please share his views and his idea about doing this conference.
Thanks, Arpit. Thanks, Arpit. Shri Manu Aggarwal ji, Central Council Member, Chairman, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, and an inspiration to all of us, the way we think about technology, the way ahead we think about technology. Shri Dayanivasji Sharma, Central Council Member and Vice Chairman of DAB in absentia. Shri Anil Bhandari ji, Central Council Member and a mentor to all of us to take various initiatives at WIRC. The expert and learned faculties and experienced personalities on the subject, Abhinav Aggarwal, Pankaj Roy Gupta, Manjunath B. Tomorrow we will be having Yashpal Negi, Mr. Aditya Bangad, dignitaries of the dais, members and friends. On behalf of DAB ICI and WIRC, I welcome all of you in this August gathering, which is Conference on Technology, Machine Learning, Automation and Data Analytics, a necessity in today's hyper-connected world. At the outset, I would like to really thank from the bottom of my heart to DAB committee and especially Chairman DAB Manu Aggarwal ji for allotting this conference to WIRC to host, because this has really, sir, enabled us to ensure that we can enrich and enable our members of Western region to update on this relevant subject. And I would like to specially thank C. Anil Bhandari ji for taking the initiative and Arpit to institutionalize the whole event in this wonderful way. As far as ICI is concerned, this year proactively ICI under DAB committee under the leadership of Manuji is taking various initiatives for the benefit of small and medium practitioners, so that we can really transit in the mode from a traditional practice to the newly fashioned practice with the help of technology. And WIRC, let me tell you, we have been regularly engaging into various workshops to train our members on various aspects of technology. And I believe, and we have really supported by the huge response from the members in all our activities related to technology. Today we WIRC are supposed to launch our very near initiative with the noble hands of Manu Aggarwal ji and Anil Bhandari ji, which is Mentorship Assistance Program. I would really like to compliment Jayesh Kala ji for taking the whole idea and initiative ahead, with the support of some of the members of Western Region, past chairman of Vasai branch, Shweta Jain, and couple of other members, Yashwant Kasar, Regional Council member, Arpit Kabra, Regional Council member, Umesh Sharma, Regional Council member. So this is really a great movement for all of us members of Western Region. Again, we are launching a e-publication on hospitality industry. WIRC this year has taken an initiative whereby we are coming out with some publications which are industry specific. So this day we are inaugurating e-publication on hospitality industry, wherein our regional council members Anand Jakotia ji, Umesh Sharma ji, Drishti Desai, other contributors Sripad Kulkarni ji, Dinesh Mundra ji, Jayesh Duderia ji, Anil Sabu ji, Nishant Mundra ji, Ruta Chitle ji, Vivek Baj ji, Uday Odak ji, Dilip Gupta ji, and some of Western region branches, Bhavnagar branch, Vasai branch, Satara branch, Goa branch, who have really enabled us to ensure that this publication can be released at the same time. This can be to the best relevant coverage for the benefit of members at large, whether in employment or as consultant. So I would just I'm really waiting. I'm eagerly waiting to see that this both our initiatives are being inaugurated today. With this, I once again welcome all of you and look forward for words of wisdom from our mentors and seniors at ICI, CA Manu Aggarwal ji and CA Anil Bhandari ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Lalit bhai. Indeed, it's a great day today. Not only we are hosting the technology conference, but also we have two good initiatives that we are launching as a WIRC, a mentorship portal, and also very important publication that would really be helpful for all of us. And as I said, when we talk about technology, one name that comes to our forefront, our very own Central Council member, C. Anil Bhandari ji, who's been our mentor and has been guiding us and has been one of the force behind this conference. I welcome Anil Bhandari and request you to please address the gathering.
So thank you, Arpit, and a very good evening to all our members and viewers today. It's absolutely fantastic to have all of you on this platform. So interesting that all of us have converged into the video conferencing platforms in a way that they've become the normal way of life that we do today. And the good part about this is, you're able to get chartered accountants like Abhinav Aggarwal. It's very difficult to probably catch up with him had it been a live session in an auditorium because half the time he would be traveling across the world. So this also is a medium to enable us to get amazing speakers and of course innovators and thought leaders like him. So welcome, Abhinav. Pleasure to have you here on our program again today. I think if somebody were to get the award for technology transformation in the last 9 months, it would probably be the COVID-19 because it has literally forced all of us to try and believe in the fact that technology works, and it has been working for all of us as we see today. Uh, Before this, of course, everybody thought that the technology works. We wanted it to work, but there was always this thing in our mind that, is this going to be really useful? Is this how this is going to work? And we had all of these thoughts, when we went to the Central Council in the first term. And myself and Manuji, I remember sitting on the same side of the table and discussing technology and thinking through how do we take ICAI, which I think was on a scale of 10, not even a 2, in terms of technology transformation when we joined the council in the last term. And fortunately, I think the institute at the right time under the leadership of various past presidents, starting from Devaraja Reddy sir, Nilesh bhai from our western region. We had, of course, Naveen Nandi Gupta. Then we had Praful bhai from this region again. All of them have been very, very strongly motivated to support the cause of digital transformation and supported our main project of the SSP platform last year, in spite of the fact that a lot of members would have gone through a pain, but we continue to kind of mentor it. And, one person that was holding it very dearly to his heart and executing it, in spite of the fact that all across the country, there would have been several emails flying, was one Manu Aggarwal ji. And I think kudos to him that he held it so well because it was not a simple project and the institute had not done something like this in the last 40 years. So I'm assuming that it would not have been, of course, easy having to, do data migration, making sure that our rules and regulations are formulated and that get into the algorithms perfectly fine. And finally, what you see today is an amazing story where the institute is completely digitalized. You don't have to go to the office, nor for your forms, nor for your memberships, nor for your content, not for any delivery. Everything seems to be working perfectly fine with this institute, which was likely to be, way behind in technology transformation. So I think once again, kudos to Manu Aggarwalji. I think he's done a fantastic job in holding this together, including the digital marking system for students, which is now today, in fact, if you look at it, we were all worried whether the digital marking would really have any value for us and we create a roadblock. But in today's time, when exams were a challenge and we have to hold another set of exams in the month of January, and then we have to hold another set of exams in the month of February, I think this run rate is only possible because of 100% digital marking, which was achieved by the Institute. And I think this time it is going through all the possible digitalization in the marking systems, and all the examiners have been trained and they're looking at it. Another big project being achieved in the Institute. This year, the Institute embarks on an ERP journey, and I think that is also likely to be a transformation from end to end for all of branches to see. Now, having spoken about Institute, and I think Manuji will speak to you more about DAB, but I would want to credit him with one more feather in his cap. He's just likely to I shouldn't be saying this early, but I think he's likely to release the standards on fraud and forensic, which incidentally will become history not only in India, but it will become history in the world, because there is no fraud and forensic standard in the world that we have seen before. And I think that would be another transformation for all our members put together, and it will open up it'll open up an ability of our members who have not participated in fraud and forensic to be able to go through the standards and offer, to start with, baseline services around that. So again, it's a fantastic initiative, and I'm hoping that this document comes out in the month of January this year, with fraud and forensic standards, roughly around 20 odd standards likely to be initiated and come out. So again, kudos to Manuji. It's not that we try and pat on each other's back. I keep saying this in the council. It's just to keep ourselves motivated. I think WRC is doing a great job. I think everybody's trying to do a great job. Just to kind of wrap up my conversation on this conference and the importance of technology. Well, I don't think technology is important any longer. I think it's a necessity. I keep saying this. But especially around this topic that we talk about today, which is data analytics, data visualization. I think wars are likely to be fought for data in the future. Already you see large organizations in the US, like the Googles and the Facebooks of the world and the WhatsApp of the world, because of their sheer size and ability to acquire data, have become such large organizations that they're able to go through and transform some of the brick and mortar industries that you see in retail today, for example. Why? Because they become the forefront of acquiring data. So data wars are likely to be fought on data, and they already started to happen. You have a lot of antitrust movement happening in the United States, and I think this will go to a long way. Digital content, which was in the past not charged in terms of news, is likely to be charged in some of the countries today, and so on and so forth. I think with the data comes a lot of responsibility, and with AI ML would again come a lot of responsibility in terms of how do you do it right or wrong. And I think fintech organizations, logistic organizations, I think are at the forefront of trying to use these technologies to try and deliver the last mile to customers and change the customer experience, which I'm sure Abhinav will talk to all of you about, because I think one of the innovations that Abhinav and his team has been doing is around the data analytics across the world. And believe me, I think they are one of the few ones, I think, to have been brought on top of the Forbes magazine as Indian entrepreneurs who have been highly innovative in and around these areas. So again, congratulations to you guys, and I know that you all are doing fantastic, and please keep it up. And it is actually exciting for us that chartered accountants, I never knew that he was a chartered accountant. That was a surprise to me. So unfortunately, Manuji, he's still struggling with his, unfortunately, he's an innovator on the Forbes, but he's still struggling with his membership, because we tend to make it compulsory for people to attend our 15-day course on membership. So this is something that Abhinav has been pointing out to me, and I'm hoping that in some way or the other we address this. So finally, I think I was on just as a last, should I say that this country is expected to have lot of innovations and products coming out of us. We took 10 years to develop an IT services industry, roughly to the tune of 60 to 70 billion dollars. I believe that if we have innovation and if we have products coming out of this country in and around data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, fintech companies, and so forth, I think we will cross 50 or 60 billion dollars in just 1 year, because that is the size and the kind of opportunity that we have here. So I think chartered accountants, I've always been excited. I continue to be excited in our run up to this. And congratulations again, WRC, for having a very pertinent conference around this area. And thank you so much, Arpit and Lalit, for inviting us. I hand this back to you, Arpit. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. And actually, really, as you mentioned, today the SSP has brought about a drastic change in the way we used to approach our offices for filing of change of partners, addition, deletion, this, that, everything. Of course, there are some hiccups, and congratulations for taking it up. And the one person, as you mentioned, who has been driving this transformation, the entire digital transformation, be it SSP, be it any other tech platform, and now the forensic audit standards, the man himself is with us. The committee, the chairman of the committee, DAB, C. Manu Aggarwal ji. I request him and invite him to please address the gathering. Over to you, Manu ji.
Thank you, Arpit ji, the chairman of Western Regional Council, Lalit ji, my friend in the council, Anil bhai, other regional council members, today's session speaker, Abhinav ji, and other dignitaries. A very good evening to all of you. Well, first I would like to say that the chairman of WIRC started with thanking me for giving this conference or for allotting this conference to WIRC. I would say, in fact, I should be the person thanking you, because basically holding such kind of a conference is spreading the awareness, which is one of the basic objectives of this digital accounting and assurance. So it's the other way around. You need not thank me, I'll thank you. And secondly, you mentioned while speaking that, well, this is a 2-day conference with only technology as the subjects. Well, yes, friends, I firmly believe that today the most awaited conferences are technology conferences. There was a time when a conference without income tax, without Companies Act, without GST was probably unthinkable. But slowly and surely we've moved on, not only because of this COVID-19, which Anil rightly said is probably the winner of the fastest application of technology award or something like that, teaching the chartered accountants or enabling them to do things which probably 5 years of continuous persuasion from the institute, from DAB, from other places would not have resulted, but this COVID-19 has accelerated that. So, well, so I really compliment the WIRC for organizing this conference, for choosing these speakers, and seeing that there are more than 350 attendees who are hooked in online. And well, moving on, well, Anil in his opening remarks said that it's not our duty to appreciate each other or pat each other's back. He credited me with 3 initiatives: one, the SSP; the other, the digital evaluation; and third, the forensic standards. Well, I would just like to add here that none of these initiatives would have been possible without him. The SSP, he said, rightly said, there are so many stories. But well, the stories were all issues, all problems which cropped up. But none of the stories would have been solved without him. Whenever there was a problem, the one person which I called said, Anil, it's time for you to come and solve this problem. And he was always there. I said, we are stuck here. This is not happening. This is not being done. So, well, I would say it was more of a teamwork. I may have been the driver, but a driver without somebody conducting or somebody telling where to go is again something which was not possible. So in all these 3 initiatives, today even the forensic standards which are coming out, basically I am the chairman of this Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, so driving it forward. But the brainchild or the main idea was of Anil's, who not only gave the idea, he gave the appropriate people also to ensure that it happens. So, Anil, well, again, not just for the sake of saying, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for all these initiatives, and more thanking you, I would like to thank the whole of WIRC for electing such a person, for sending him to the council, and all these digital initiatives, starting, as he rightly mentioned, from the presidentship of Devraj Reddy sir, well, was driven by us 3-4 people as a team. We all really look forward to transforming the organization. And well, I do not know how far we have been successful, but we've been trying our best. And as he rightly pointed out, the SSP has more or less stabilized with the initial hiccups. But I would want to add that any transformation of this side has its downsides, problems, or initial hiccups which have been there. So it's been a great journey, and I would say without Anil would actually not have been possible at all. So he's equally involved, may not be on the front, he's been doing other things also, probably the first person to bring about these internal audit standards. Now, this is from where the inspiration came. He said, I brought internal audit standards, you have to bring these forensic standards. So it was his brainchild actually, which was there, put in the right people and all that, which happened, and which would happen in future. I think would not only be a feather in the cap for ICI, but probably would also put India on the global map as far as forensic standards are concerned. Now, some other things which I would like to state, just one or two more things regarding this DAP. We have come out with this DCMM version 2. I do not know how many of you have gone through it. That's another great thing, which is a benchmarking tool which tells you how far your CA firm is competent, or whether you have reached the desired maturity model or not. So now one thing which we are going to add probably sometime next week is a self-certification or a self-evaluation certificate which would be generated from the DCMM tool itself. You can use it, you can affix it on your wall, and basically the main objective is to help you evaluate where you stand on the digital platform and what the institute expects out of a chartered accountant. The boundaries in technology do not exist. The scope is unlimited, but still we have tried to compile certain things which we at DAP think are mandatory. Another thing which I would like to tell you, with the support of everybody, we've been really successful in holding all the courses online. You must have seen, everybody has seen the success of that. We've been able to take DISA and FAFD down to the smallest parts of the country without worrying about the attendance. That is also one of the benefits of COVID. Now, again, as far as this conference is concerned, the topics are really wonderful. Artificial intelligence, again, something which is here to stay, something which everybody has to adapt. Data analytics, again, something which is going to become an integral part for chartered accountants. We were very, very, I would say, cautious, or something which was very close to our heart during the audit was a ledger scrutiny, which we thought is something which only we can do, only a trained person can do. But if I make a statement that the full ledger scrutiny can be done by artificial intelligence or by data analytics, well, at first it would seem, if this actually happens, if this is true, if this is possible, what would happen to chartered accountants? Well, nothing is going to happen to chartered accountants. They're going to become entrepreneurs. They're going to use that data and value add to people. That is something which we have to learn. But this is the power of data analytics. Each and everything which is being done by us would be replaced by machines very, very soon. I would say sooner than we really think or expect. So with this, I probably am encroaching upon the time of Abhinavji, who's here to enlighten you. It was really a pleasure talking to you all, and I wish you a very, very successful conference. Thank you. And once again, Anil was instrumental in getting this conference also organized. So once again, thanks to Anil. And thanks to the chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuji. Indeed, well said. These digital transformations are going to be soon be a part of all our lives. And today, the way this conference has been structured is not only we are talking about knowledge or some about theories, but also we have a fantastic practical session lined up as well today evening. We go through artificial intelligence, we go through data analytics using some tools. Then we also talk about automating everything possible. And then we've got someone from Amazon to talk about what is happening on machine learning. Something that can really be of varied interest and of something really critical importance for all of us as chartered accountants who deal with a lot of data in and out. So all of this, and before we could embark upon, and I could invite Abhinav Ji, I would request Jayesh Bhai, if he can. Jayesh Bhai is here with us. Jayesh Bhai, please, your quick thoughts on the mentorship portal that we have launched today. Jayesh Bhai.
Thank you, Arpit. Respected Chairman, Sir, Shri Lalit Bajaj, respected Central Council Member Anil Bhandari Ji, Manu Aggarwal Ji, Chairman DAB, my colleague in Regional Council Umesh Sharma Ji, Arpit Kabra Ji, Yashwant Kasar Ji, my coordinator with me, past chairperson of Vasai branch, CA Shweta Jain. Really working with you all for this mentorship portal was really wonderful. This was a time when we thought that it is indeed important for the youngsters and even the senior chartered accountants who wish to adopt new things. Somebody has to mentor them. So this thought came, and our chairman instructed that yes, we have to launch this mentorship portal. So we work day and night for this, and today we are on with this mentorship portal. I'll just give you a brief, very short brief. Like this mentorship portal, we have mentors registered with us who are who's and who's of our chartered accountants who are into practice. There are two types of mentorship programs which will be running. It is on-the-job training, wherein the mentees will be working hand on hand with the mentors for a period of around 6 months, or it will be on periodic basis, like every week or every fortnight they will be meeting and taking the guidance of the mentors. It is fully automated portal, and everything will be connected through artificial intelligence, so that there is no physical intervention of anybody. Any mentor, any mentees who would like to get registered can get themselves registered in the portal, and based on their preferences, mentors will be selected, and based on the mentors requirement and the mentees requirement, the portal will match their requirement, and automatically a message will be going to them. So indeed it was a great satisfaction in working with Yashwant Bhai, Umesh Bhai, under the leadership of Lalit Bhai and Arpit Ji for launching this portal, and hats off to CA Shweta Jain also, who has really worked. It was a time when we had coordinated even up to around 12:30 at the night for making this portal for this mentorship portal live. So thanks to Shweta Ji also. With this, I once again thank you for giving me this opportunity for working for the launching of this mentorship portal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jayesh Bhai. And really, it's a moment for us. It's something that could really shape up the future of our young chartered accountants. And when we talk about young chartered accountants, look at this picture. We have Abhinav Aggarwal with us, a young CA, an entrepreneur, and someone who's just talking about technology, AI, artificially. And look where he has been. To hear about him more, I'll request Umesh Bhai, who's celebrating his anniversary today, and perhaps today was the day when he also went he first stepped into the council. So Umesh Bhaiya, please, I request you to introduce Abhinav Aggarwal.
Yes, thank you, Arpit.
Publication.
Yes, Lalit ji.
Umesh Bhaiya, yes.
Yeah. Shall I carry on, Arpit?
Yes, Umesh Bhaiya.
Okay. Today, as told by Anil Bhandari sir and Manu sir, and the total concept of the today's program under the leadership of Lalit Bhai. AI is the topic, और AI के अंदर का जो A है ये अभिनव का है या आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का है, ये हम सबको देखना पड़ेगा. Abhinav Aggarwal is one of the founder of Fluid AI. Abhinav dropped out of the MBA program at ISB Hyderabad to found his own company, Fluid AI. He is a part of Forbes 30 out of 30 Asia list and Fortune 40 under 40 list. So 30 Forbes and Fortune 40 ये उन्होंने हासिल किया है. Abhinav is a chartered accountant. However, he has always had a passion of coding and is a regular thought coder. He began his journey when he emerged as one of the winner of the world's biggest 24-hour coding competition, the TechCrunch Disturb Hackathon in New York in 2012. He has recently featured on the cover of Forbes magazine. He has worked with Warren Buffett to launch world's first AI magazine. In very small years, in less than 10 years, Abhinav has scaled up very big in the AI intelligence space. His company Fluid AI provides customer focused experience as well as decoding decision products. He has atomized Bank of America branch with a complete AI, human-less intervention, fully technology-driven, and he is a top vendor of deep learning, and he has been awarded Deep Technology Startup Award. So lots of technological innovation in the name of Abhinav. We welcome him on this technology platform, on this conference, and I look forward for your lecture. Thank you.
Yes, Abhinav, we welcome you once again. And since you are here with us, and I would just take this opportunity once again. I would request Umesh Bhai, because we have all our CCMs also with us. I request you to please also unveil today and launch the publication on hospitality industry that we have launched. And with Abhinav with us, I request you, in absence of Anand Jakotia, who has taken the initiative under the leadership of Lalit Bhai, to there's a small publication on hospitality industry that we are talking of. Umesh Bhai, if you can quickly throw some light on this publication.
Yes. It started with the Lalit Bajaj thought process that we have to come out with the 5 e-publications. So technology is playing in publication also. Now every book is coming in e-way. And this is the second book which we have published with a team of Anand Jakotia, Drishti Madam, and all the sets of contributors. Sripat Kulkarni contributed in this hospitality industry in introduction and internal audit chapters. Then CA Dinesh Mundra and Anil Sabu contributed in futures of accounting SWOT analysis of hospitality industry. Then CA Dilip Gupta and CA Nishan Mundra contributed for indirect taxes, and I have also gone through some GST insights of this hospitality industry. Then CA Uday Odak for direct taxes and some additional information regarding hospitality industry. Then CA Aditya Kanetkar and CA Rutla Chitle for statutory audit, key concerns and way forward. And I hope this publication will be one of the best publication available on hospitality industry. And I am proud that this is published by our own region, Western India region. And thanks to all the contributors, thanks to the publishers, and thanks to the team for their hard work. And now this will be available on the website of WIRC, and everybody can download from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Umesh. Yes, participants, I would request you please download this function, download this magazine that's available on the website. And I would also request all the contributors who have joined us to please join us on the screen so that we can acknowledge your efforts on this. I request Dilip ji, Sanjay Udak ji, Shweta madam, and Anil Sabu ji, and Dinesh Mundra ji. Thank you, Dilip bhai. Thank you, Uday ji.
Dilip Gupta ji contributed in indirect taxes. Uday Odak ji in direct taxes in this e-publication. Thank you, sir, for your hard work.
Anil ji and Dinesh Mundra ji both. Thanks,
Yes,
Anil ji.
Yes, Anil Sabuji for Future of Accounting and SWOT Analysis. Dinesh ji also in that team. Thank you.
Right. So after this session, this is the inaugural session, and something really close to our hearts that we've been doing for the betterment of the entire region. Now let's switch over to this technology that we're talking about, Fluid AI. I welcome Abhinav to please take over the session. Yes, we can hear some machines in the background already. I request everyone to please go on.
Perfect. Thanks everyone. I'm just going to also show my screen, and yeah, let me know when you can see it. Yeah, I know. Ideally, yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
And now we can see the screen also.
Okay, great, awesome. Let me just shut some extra stuff. Right, Arpit, just wanted to do a quick check. How much time? I know once I start talking, I can carry on for really long. I don't want to push your schedule around too much. So how long do you want me to cover?
You have the full time with you. You have full time with you. Related to you. I would request all the participants to stay with us, so that the more we hear about technology, the more we can soak in. These people don't come often on our session, so let's take the max out of it. Abhinav, please continue.
Awesome. So, guys, and girls, I think, one thing that we've seen is that I just wanted to open with one quick thought is that, if you look at the power of AI on data, using just digital AI powered collections, right? Just for the collections of a bank, you could save as much as $30 million for a mid-sized bank. And when it becomes a larger bank, obviously those numbers go phenomenally up, right? So I think we all acknowledge that the power of data and what it can do is phenomenal. I think a lot of the folks were talking right before me were just talking about how powerful data is becoming and how it's changing people's lives. I think we've seen in the CA community itself, right? Anil ji, does some phenomenal work on the business side, along with his CA work and being the chairman on a lot of tools on cybersecurity and connectivity and access, which in fact our company uses, and that's one way I'd actually ended up connecting with Anil ji. But today we all use a lot of the technologies as a community within each other, and I'd see a lot of the CAs are now powering a lot of the tech revolution, which is also always great to see. So I think, when we talk about the power of data, it's a little vague, right? When people say, okay, data is so powerful. But if you look at it, if you go back in time, if you go almost, I'd say, go back in time all the way to the start when information was never really as accessible as it was today, right? So and when you had this relationship of a buyer and seller, it's very interesting to note that the buyer and seller were never in the same position of information and power, right? If you go back and say, let's say early man times, people used to live with no technology. And someone was you're working in the barter system, and someone's selling a goat to you, and you're saying, okay, I'll trade maybe some food for this goat. The person selling the goat had all the information about the goat, and he'd have more information about goats in general, firstly. And then about that particular goat, he'd have a lot more information, right? So essentially, the seller was in power, right? And essentially the guy who had the information was in power. And then you fast forward in time, it's actually very interesting that maybe up till say around 2010, right? So about, I'm saying, in 2000 years, not much changed, right? That let's say you went to buy a car or you went to buy something, the information was always with the seller, right? And therefore that the Latin word, I think mostly if you look at anywhere between the US, in India, in Asia, in Europe, in China, I think everyone knows only two Latin words, right? Caveat emptor, which is buyer beware. And because information was so scarce, right, it was always with the seller. It's actually after 2010 now, if you look at it, right, in these last 10 years, the amount of information that's exploded, it's all changed, right? Because today, if someone's trying to sell you something and saying, oh, wow, this is the best television I know, you're going to be instantly able to go on Amazon or somewhere and kind of look up, 50 reviews, look it up on another platform, and look at, or maybe if you're going out to eat dinner and someone say, hey, this is a great place, you're going to actually not just trust them, but actually have access to something like a Zomato, which will give you tons of information, right? Too much information. And it's very interesting to note that, when it comes to the financial space, the people that have the most information is all of us, right? The CAs, because the accounts of the company and its financials are essentially the base of everything, right? And all the amount of information that's there, the amount you can do with that information, it's just phenomenal. And I'm going to maybe cover maybe one or two very interesting examples of how that information is going to be leveraged and can be leveraged. I'm going to do a little bit different. I know some of you might be, I was recognizing the fact that, when I spoke last year at the CA event, obviously we were all together and that's always a lot more fun. But I still remember that, I wanted to try and cover some different areas from what I talked about last time. So kind of keep it more interesting and not have any repetition from what I showcased and talked about last time. So this is key, right? Unlocking the power of data, and can we leverage AI in interesting ways to unlock that power, right? I think the first unlocking of data and its power from the CA perspective happened when platforms like Tally came into being, right? A QuickBooks, a Tally that made information a lot more easier to play around with, to calculate, to work with, right? And now it's the next revolution, right? What is that? AI is like the next Tally of your generation, and that's going to empower you to actually do a lot more with it. And even I think 10 years ago, a lot of people, or 20 years ago, I'd say, a lot of people talked about Tally being the disruptor in the accounting space. I'm sure if we had a session like this back then, a lot of people would have been like, oh, okay, is Tally going to automate everything, or is a QuickBooks going to automate everything? Right. And while it automated a lot, I think it made CAs and made the profession a lot more powerful because they could do a lot more with it. And with AI, I think the generation, it's going to be exactly the same. I think one core piece that I think is very important, and then I'll start talking more about the finance piece. But I think one core piece that's very important is understanding your core value, right? And what makes you tick. I think my journey has been a very exciting one. I was a commerce guy. I was at HR. I did my BMS from there, and so I largely come from a fin background. When I was doing BMS, I was like, wow, I need to learn something more along with this, and I need to have some good grounding in something that can kind of be equivalent of a degree for me, that can really help me in the world in the future. And that's when I found CA, and I picked up a few books, loved it. Didn't end up taking any tuitions because work was hectic. Because that time I started the company as well, so I was doing college, I was doing CA, and I was doing the company. So it was pretty hectic. So I used to study from those original module books. I used to really enjoy them. I think they were very well written. I know a lot of my friends never studied from them, but yeah, I used to be. I used to really enjoy that, and yeah, I think so as it kind of moved along, I think the core value for and why we did it was because I found that AI and leveraging or changing the world through the power of data was something I was very passionate about, right? The minute I understood the value of data, it really moved me, and I said, okay, this is my true calling, and this is why I'm in the business, right? Can we leverage data to make people's lives better? So today, we work with General Electric, where we're working on MRI machine data to ensure no MRI machine fails or a CT scan machine doesn't fail. We're working with transit authorities of the world to ensure trains run on time and faults can be predicted before they happen. We're working with the smart meter one of the largest smart meter manufacturers in Europe, where we're trying to predict, and we're successfully predicting, when a grid will go down, what to prevent a grid from going down, when there's electricity theft. A lot of these smart meters are now being deployed in North India, which we're powering as well, the AI on top of it. So the amount, and even for banks, right, can we prevent fraud from happening? Can we ensure, on the fin side, can we ensure smoother, faster collections? The power that data can bring is phenomenal. And I feel people need to understand what their core value is and then market that, right? I think everyone in this room is a phenomenal CA in their own right. And they're going to be great at, auditing a person's books, giving great financial advice, right? But what's your core value is going to be very different, right? For me, it was about making it happen and leveraging the power of data, right? And if you see big companies, right, if you look at, let's say, look at Nike, right? What are they? They are not, they're a shoe company, but if you see a Nike ad, you'll never see them selling the shoe, right? You'll never see them saying, hey, this is a great shoe. This is the inner sole. This is, we have soft cushioning, and this is why our shoe is better, right? You don't see that when Nike talks about it, because shoes are a commodity. But what Nike talks about is their core value as a company is athletic performance, right? Can superior peak athletic performance, and that's what Nike can enable, and that's their core value. And everything that they do and work on kind of revolves around their core value, including the branding that they build, right? And as CAs, I think that's key for us, right? While we're amazing at the work we do, what's our core value and how do we differentiate ourselves in the market today? Are we a CA who can come in and say, yes, I love data and I can leverage the power of data to do amazing things for an organization and really change the way an organization works, or anything else that drives our core value, right? So it's important to find your core value. I think I found mine early on, which is why I think CA prepared me for everything that I needed, and therefore decided that, an MBA at ISB, I didn't need to study more. The business was scaling. I think MBAs are phenomenal though. So I would say if you have the opportunity to do an MBA, I myself would recommend it. I think for us, technology was moving so quickly that we didn't have a chance to really say that, okay, let's get out of the business, study for 2 years or 1.5 years, then come back in the business. It didn't make sense, and which is why we kind of took that call. But yeah, I think find your true calling, right? And I think that's what led us to a lot of this success of, coming on the cover, working with Warren Buffett, and doing some interesting stuff. So coming to the AI side, and I really hope that this, I'd want to make this as interactive, but I'm seeing that the number of participants, 400-500 participants, will be tough to kind of have a very, very interactive session. So you're going to hear a lot more of me. If there is a way for anyone to chat questions at any point in our within team, if you can just throw out those questions. If people are having a particular question, would love to hear questions during my presentation, because I always enjoy things being more interactive and collaborative. Yeah, I think when coming to the AI side, right? So I think we all need to understand, one simple concept about what AI is very easy, right? And AI is an algorithm that can learn and evolve on its own, and it can learn in two ways, right? So one is an AI that can learn from examples, right? So common use cases are fraud, collections, default prediction, things like that, right? So when I say that can learn from examples, it means that, hey, I show an AI algorithm, hey, here's a sample of frauds. Here are 50 frauds that have happened in this organization. Here's what the fraud data looks like. Now learn from this and become smart. And the more examples I'll show you, the more smarter it'll become. And then I give it, newer data and say, hey, can you find anything that looks similar, or can you find a fraud from that transaction, right? Similarly for default prediction, right? Hey, here are 10,000 defaults that happened in the last 2 months. Learn from this, and now before a default happens, can you actually predict it, right? So that's AI that learns from examples. And then there's the AI that learns on its own, right? And that's another really interesting one. Oops. Yeah. So and AI that learns. Okay. Every time I move this, I'm going to do this. All right, so an AI that learns on its own, right? So an AI that learns on its own is essentially an AI that, well, can go into the data and just make its own sense or logic out of it, right? And use cases there are slightly tougher, but interesting as well, right? Anomaly transactions. So you could have an unsupervised algorithm, unsupervised meaning it doesn't get any examples. It's actually fairly simple. An unsupervised algorithm just goes on the data. It can see maybe, let's say, transaction data and say, hey, these transactions, out of all these transactions look okay. These few transactions look a little different and weird to me. And can we investigate them further, right? So similarly goes for clustering, where you could have an algorithm start to bunch up data in very interesting ways. And while it it sounds very simple and it doesn't sound really that's impactful, actually once you code these algorithms correctly, the power you can derive and the complexity of problems that you can apply them to goes phenomenally higher, right? So if you're doing, let's say, speech recognition of a person, you're recognizing his voice, you're using something which is AI that learns from examples, but you're also using some form of transfer learning nowadays, which is an AI that learns on its own just by seeing data. So even a complex logic like speech recognition can apply back from here. And there are essentially two forms of AI. So there is, I'm going to move this window on the side because it keeps coming in front. I don't think you guys can see it, but every time I see it, it kind of blocks my view. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so conversational AI is one area, and then the data analytics AI is another area, right? So conversational AI is essentially AI that can talk to people, have interactions with them, and give them, great examples. So a great example of, conversational AI on the finance side would be an AI that can, let's say you want an algorithm that can literally give you feedback about your accounts, right? Okay, you can ask it, hey, what are the sales for a simpler question, but I guess you could go a lot more complex. So let's say you start with, hey, what are the sales for last quarter? And then you could say, okay, but you could ask it conversational questions like saying, hey, based on the sales of last quarter dissected by region, which are my regions that seem outlier from previous quarter, right? Or based on my based on this stocks, if you're doing stock analysis, based on this stock's PE value, and we take its ROCE, which is its return on capital employed, can we kind of can we kind of get a multiplier by rank of companies with low PE, high ROCE, which is essentially the Joel Black magic formula, but can we rank companies there and then select the top guys, right? And just seeing the conversation, the algorithm should be able to understand what you're saying, leverage from it, and actually make or use that outcome to get you the result. So that's the conversational piece. And then the data and analytics piece is the whole other piece, which essentially talks about, can we sit on top of large data and do some interesting outcomes and examples. So the pillars of, what are the core pillars of any good AI deployment? And when you as CAs, go into the world and see the data that you have access to, what makes you confident, or what will make you confident saying, hey, can we use AI for this problem, right? And there are actually three very simple pillars. The accessibility of data, right? How easy, how much data is there, and how accessible the data is. Because the more data, the better the AI can learn. Can we build actionable outcomes from this, right? I think that's key. A lot of people, when they think AI and then think of some of these problems, they go very complex, but they don't think about what actionable outcome can you do, right? So let's say I built an algorithm that can predict if someone's going to default 1 month before, vendor's not going to pay 1 month before they don't pay. But if I go to the organization and I say, okay, I can do this, but once I do this, what will you do with that? Right? What's your outcome? Can you take this outcome or prediction that I give you and actually do some actionable work? Can you call up the vendors beforehand? Will calling up the vendors actually help? What can I do actionable once you have the predictions? I think a lot of people forget this step, the actionable outcome. They get so caught up in the data accuracy and how accurate is our predictions, and are we 99%, are we 98, that people forget about the actionable outcome. And the last piece would be the business value, right? What is the business value that we are essentially driving from this whole activity, right? Because AI problems, or leveraging AI and analytics are sometimes expensive propositions, right? So it doesn't make sense if you're spending, let's say, $20,000 or $50,000 on a problem, or $100,000 on a problem, and at peak performance, the saving is going to be $150,000, right? Because then at peak performance, your delta is only, let's say, $40,000-$50,000, which won't make sense considering you're spending 100 and then the risk is there, right? And if you go for smaller implementations as well, kind of the math essentially should make sense. So those are your three key peaks, and that's essentially how it works. Now, when we go kind of work on an AI problem, and I think the key item is, integrations aren't easy, right? So a lot of stuff happens when you start to think about, oh, how do I integrate and leverage this data, right? So my data is in Tally and it's all accounting there. How do I actually extract all of this data into a format that I can run an algorithm on? Right? It's very difficult to sometimes get to the data source, and then once you connect to it, how do I extract data, or how do I make that a lot easier, quicker, and better? Similarly, when it comes to a lot of other scenarios, right? When I'm going for so there's can I connect with phone systems to do automated phone calls? Can I connect with the CRM? Can I connect with a dialer? Can I connect with WhatsApp to send out alerts to customers? There's a lot of integrations out there, and that need to be done, and that's one key consideration that you should do when you kind of look at. So what I wanted to do something interesting and kind of take one scenario and kind of show the power of AI. I also had a demo, but actually last minute I needed to switch laptops because I had an issue at my end with the laptop. So we'll still see if it's possible to try and kind of get the demo running, because the other one is connected as well. So we will try. But let me talk about like one scenario. So I thought an interesting one, since we're looking at the finance side, and collections is something that's applicable for almost every scenario, right? So it's either collections from customers who are B2B, there's collections from B2C customers, there's collections in banking in a big way. So I'm going to take one financial scenario, and in this case, I'm going to take banking because it is the most prevalent when it comes to collections, and I think it's the most relevant at this time of COVID, right? I think a lot of organizations have lent to a lot of people, and I think there's going to be a bit of bad blood out there when essentially a lot of the government support starts to, and we'll start seeing it now when the government support starts to pull out, you're actually going to see a changing behavior in terms of the way default numbers start to go up, especially during COVID. I think the numbers have been fairly underreported because the government's been managing it, but there's only that much management for that long that's going to happen. So I thought I'd take something relevant that kind of covers a lot of steps over there. So collections in general, right? The collections process in banks and in financial organizations are undergoing a massive transformation. We're seeing this massive shift that's happening. And banks that can actually, or organizations that can predict default before and reach the customer first are the ones that are going to win, right? That's key. And banks that can, organizations that can collect faster are going to end up collecting a lot more, right? If I'm today, why a Bajaj Finance or wins a lot of the unsecured lending market is because when someone defaults, they're there within a day to collect from the customer, right? So by the time the other guys have reached, they've already taken the money and gone. So the guy, by the time the competition leads, because typically one guy you lend to has taken up multiple loans at the same time, right? By the time the other guys reach, the guy's pockets are empty. There's nothing much you can do about it. So from a CA perspective, it's a lot about also talking to customers. How can you make their collections a lot more smarter and understand default and general behavior in different interesting ways. And obviously, like I was mentioning, during COVID-19, these numbers are only going to go further up. It's estimated that defaults are going to increase, right? By approximately, people are saying 50 to 70% when the support actually gets removed. So it's going to be interesting to see how those things proceed. And what banks are thinking is that if they could, and a lot of organizations think this, right, throughout their journey, and this is where the power of AI can really come in, is if I were able to predict the default before it happened, I could have prevented it. And that's where a lot of the meat of the excitement comes in, right? Can I prevent or predict and prevent something from happening? And sometimes banks are also thinking, like, okay, how do I optimize my actions, right? This is for a lot of larger organizations. When I'm doing these AI algorithms, or when we're doing these predictions, a lot of them are, can we just do optimized reach outs to the right customers, right? So if I'm a microfinance institution and I'm lending to a large number of organizations or large number of individuals, can I use some algorithm to know which individuals have a higher chance of repaying, which individuals have a lower chance of repaying? And once you have all of that, right, the other beauty of the AI algorithms that come in is, how do I actually reach out to all these customers effectively, really quickly, right? I think that's what a lot of these organizations are thinking. So I'm going to walk you through how an AI algorithm could actually make the end-to-end process really simple. So right from pre-default predictions to post-default predictions to an army of bots that can communicate, right? And I'm going to show you a few examples. So one is connecting to all the data that's there, right? So if you see in this particular example, you might look at data and say the traditional approach was always saying, okay, can you give me a manual limited dump of data? And I'm going to kind of run my magic on top of that. And there'll be, let's say, you'll typically as a CA have access to a collections management system, access that system, pull data once a month, and kind of leverage from there. But the new world approach is, can we have these automated pipelines that connect to everything, connect to a lot more systems, right? Can we get core banking data? Can we get transactions of the customer? What time does he call? What time does he actually drop his check off, right? So there's a really interesting scenario. You're studying a particular bank, a particular organization's data, accounts data, right? And what we found was, so they typically had this payment cycle that, okay, you have to pay on the 30th. So before the month changes over, before the month changes over to the 1st, you have to pay on the 30th of every month. And what they found was something very interesting. So, obviously most vendors, knowing a vendor in the industry, they'll always want to pay on the last day, right, to have that float with them. So most vendors would pay on the 29th, 30th, 28th, 29th, 30th. That's when you'd see most of the checks come in. And this was not even a bank, it was just a simple organization, kind of like I can't reveal the name, but like an Asian Paints type organization, right? So paint vendors, stuff like that. And what interestingly they saw in the data was that, obviously during the tougher times, some vendors would kind of, or some distributors would not pay on time, right? And they would start kind of defaulting. And these guys would need to in real time decide, hey, which distributor do I give how much credit to, and who's going to pay me back? And they wanted to know which creditors or distributors are under stress. So what they found, one very interesting data point was what time the check comes in, or what time does the NEFT or RTGS transfer actually come in, right? So they studied the organization's older patterns, and what they found was that there was, like, let's say you take one distributor X, without fail on the 29th at about before 6 o'clock, he'd make his payment, right? And this pattern was prevalent almost throughout the last 3 years of data that they had. And what they saw was that suddenly there was a pattern change, right? This distributor started paying on the 30th of every month, and that too before the NEFT RTGS time closed. So I think it was about before 3 o'clock or whatever the time was. So right before that, like half an hour before that, they would pay, right? So now most systems won't show this, right? Because they'll just show transaction paid on time, no red flag, nothing. But when you actually started analyzing the data, what that organization realized was people that paid closer, that changed their behavior of paying one day earlier to coming closer to the deadline of paying, actually had a very high chance of default because they were essentially distributors that were facing a lot of stress suddenly, right? Financial stress, which is why they were now further delaying the payments and scrummaging the money to pay on time. Now, a record of time and date of payment or RTGS NEFT transfer is sometimes considered very inconsequential value by most people, right? Even the most data oriented people will say, okay, NEFT date transfer is pretty pointless as long as you have the overarching timeline of the date, right? And when NEFT transfer, RTGS transfer, or initiation transfers typically go later into the night, that it typically also is a sign that someone is doing this transfer out of process. So even the smallest data points can have some phenomenal things to talk about or say. So the newer generation now is about capturing all the data, right? And behavioral data, which is put up here, is extremely important. So coming to this example, once the organization or the bank was able to kind of connect to all these data sources and actually pull and make sense of it, let's take Jane over here. So she might not know today if she's going to be able to, or she has challenges to make her monthly payment, but the bank knows now, right? And 3 out of 4, actually, let me just move this because I can't see my own screen. 3 out of 4 defaults of loans and cards are predicted 30 days before they happen. And today, banks that we work with, that what they've been able to achieve is somewhere 95% accuracy of an upcoming delinquency. And that's phenomenal, right? The knowledge that you can have with the power of AI, if you know 30 days before that someone's going to default, the amount of actions that they can take now, put it on high surveillance account, call up the customer, get your collections team ready in case when the default hits, can they be ready to collect on the secured, if it's a secured loan on whatever the security is, can they ensure no encumbrances come, and just keep at the account, right? It's really strong power, and that's what they exactly do, right? They can now, these collections teams now actually reach out to the customer by email, phone, and try and prevent the default from happening. Can we restructure the loan before the customer kind of defaults? And then once he's defaulted, typically most customers, as you know, right, once you cross the red line, people are very fearful about crossing the red line. But it's ironic how once you cross the red line, kind of things are out of the window and nobody cares anymore. And these were some of the accuracies that we hit, but let's say Jane actually goes ahead and defaults anyways, right? The bank tries its best. Then to know which of these customers are going to be able to repay, right? Can we have algorithms? And today we have, very sophisticated algorithms that sit on top of the data and can tell you which customers have a higher chance of repaying. And this could be from savings account data. This could be from their financials data. Actually knowing when a customer can repay is phenomenal power, and which customers, because then suddenly if you know that with 88% accuracy, you know which customers are at risk, right? There'll always be those customers that are always 10 days late on their loan, right? Let's not bother calling them because they're going to pay in 10 days. But let's call the guys that are at serious risk, and these guys are going to go default in a big way and not pay us back. And that's what allows these organizations now to make it 4 in every 5 of these calls, right, have now become much smarter. And the agents are calling the customers that are at highest risk and recovering a lot more before other creditors can get there, right? So if you saw the same 3 pillars that I drew before, and I took it in the concept of a problem, right? When you look at some of it, initially it wouldn't make sense, but when you look at it in the problem of pillars, right, you had accessible data, you had behavioral data, customer data, you had savings account data. So you had all this beautiful data to play with. You had the second pillar of action, right? Can my agents call smarter? Can my collections teams reach out to these folks and restructure their loans? So I had great actionables, and the impact is huge savings, right? So in just 2 weeks, an organization can see anywhere at 62 million, $70 million worth of high risk accounts that are identified, and actually go on to recover a lot of it. And it's not just there, right? When as soon as this first default actually hits, so when Jane hits the first default, within about 2 hours, AI robots start dialing and interacting with the customer and have a 2-way conversation with the customer, right? And that's powerful in terms of you can achieve that. The amount of customers you can now outreach in the banks that have become really smart. So it's essentially like it's phenomenal, right? Because by the time the collections team has had their lunch and coffee and come back, about 1,000 customers would have been reached. And imagine that, right? If you had put humans to the same task, it would have probably taken one agent 10 days to do that particular activity. So the power that you get as a result is really strong. And these are just samples of capabilities where we've seen large number of customers being hit and large amount of impact. I thought this would be a great point to show you guys what an AI phone call actually sounds like. This is a slightly older version because we're not allowed to really publish until we get all the verified sign-offs from these organizations. So I'm going to actually, hopefully the audio comes through. I'm not sure if the audio will play through, but we'll give it a shot and actually show you what an actual phone call sounds like. This is about from a slightly older technology of ours. So now the audio sounds a little more phenomenal, but let's see. Let me know if you guys can't hear the audio.
Good day. This is Sam calling from NCB.
Can you guys hear the audio?
In relation to your NCB account with us. It is currently past due and requires your urgent attention. Please confirm if you can make the payment. Please say yes if you can, or no if you are unable to do so. Yes. Thank you for your confirmation. Kindly advise the date of payment.
November 6, 2020.
Great. If you don't mind, could you help us with the amount that you will be able to pay?
32,000.
Thank you for providing all the details. We will get in touch with you if we have further questions. It was nice talking to you. Enjoy the rest.
So that's what a call could sound like, and it's powerful because suddenly you're able to do a lot more with a lot less, right? And people, to a large extent, depending on people at scale, to be able to do something like this, it kind of makes your life easier. Similarly, on we've had AI use cases where processing monetarium mails, automated processing of monetarium mails has become a lot more powerful. Right? Can you automatically process? And I wanted to kind of now change gears. And if we have any questions, I don't know how we do questions actually. So I know Arpit and team would be the experts on kind of guiding us on how we could do questions. But I want to kind of show you what the conversational AI side looks like as well. Yeah, I think kind of show you a few other interesting areas and demos that kind of just bring the technology alive to you guys and how it can work and kind of give that power. I think that's what I wanted to aim at, kind of just igniting that little bit of excitement around how AI could be leveraged in your own financial businesses and as CAs, how could it be leveraged to really make some power-packed results. I'm going to take a quick pause before I continue on and check if there are any questions, or is there a way to get questions?
Yeah, Abhinav, there are some questions. Do you want me to take it now?
Sure. Let's take a few and then we'll continue on. Okay,
no problem. So there's an interesting question that has come up by Vivek Verma. He says, I'm a disciplined person having good cushion in the form of equity and debt funds. I lose my job due to COVID, but I can survive by selling my mutual fund units. How can AI predict this kind of a scenario?
It's a great question. Typically, when it comes to a lot of these AI algorithms, and you've taken a great example. So one thing that an AI algorithm would do that kind of goes in line with what the question was typically when it works with an organization and it's seeing a lot of defaults come in for people of one employer. So let's say Infosys is having mass layoffs, right? And as a banker, you obviously know the people you've lent to, where they work. So if suddenly the banking data starts showing that, hey, this customer, a lot of guys who work for Infosys, suddenly they are showing massive decreases in their salary or income month on month. Maybe there's a sign of stress, or maybe there's a mass layoff going on over there. the algorithm would probably pick that up and start flagging or start looking at other accounts who have internal sources. But what it would also try and do is, if accessible, it would try and access your other financial data, right? Are transfers coming into your account from other sources? Are you selling a lot of equity? If you use the same organization or bank as the custodian for your cap markets, it would probably know that actually this person has money in terms of equity, and therefore he'll be able to repay and he should be fine. But so it depends a lot on that key, being able to kind of leverage that, and at the same time, sometimes you won't know, right? So the algorithm will try and know to its best. It might see how the transfer coming, how his account balances are dropping, and if they're not because I'm probably selling off some equities that I own, then it would not red flag me. But sometimes you wouldn't know, right? Because let's say I have my second bank account with XYZ Bank, and it would try and know to its best by seeing the transfer data or transaction data. But at the end of the day, you're not going to always be 100% accurate. So some of those will go in your bucket of, let's say I said, right, 3 and 4 can be predicted. So those 1 and 4 will be those chances when none of the data makes sense and kind of attributes you to be right.
All right, there's another question. Deepak Chopra ji has asked, any real AI projects that has been done for public sector so far for government departments? If you can, if you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a couple of AI projects that and actually let me show you one. I think that would be very cool to kind of have you guys see one and what that looks like. It's actually a government one that I have. So we'll have to try some trickery though. So can you guys give me screen share access on the second computer that's logged in?
Okay.
In my name?
Vishali, I can do that. Wait, I'll do that.
Sir, Kia.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think I got the request. Let me just give it a.
Welcome, Yushan Bhav.
Yeah, can you guys? I'm showing it.
Yeah.
Are you guys able to see my screen?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now done.
Okay, awesome. So let me pick one. So since we asked for the public sector, I'll actually take a public sector sample. So this one is actually meter phase data. So this was an AI use case where we actually ran for a government. It's obviously mass data, but we ran for a government on top of meters. So on top of smart meters that were there, right? So smart meters, you'll have tons of data that's coming in, and I think most of North India now has started getting a large number of smart meters, which will be those electricity meters that you have at your home. I know a lot of us in Bombay, the person still comes and manually checks at home every month as to what the meter reading is. But now for a lot of them in the north of India, they actually have real-time data that's coming in. Those meters connect to the internet and then push the data in real time. So suddenly you have huge volumes of data that come in, right? Each meter is giving you 96 data points for every minute. Of what's its temperature reading, what's the meter reading, has someone tried to tamper with the meter, and what they've tried to do. And what we were able to enable as a part of this, and this was what do you call it? What we were able to enable as a part of this was actually to do real-time analysis on some of this and do real-time predictions on whether a particular meter will fail or when a particular meter will fail. And what theft data analysis as well, right? So suddenly you start seeing a particular meter reading that's showing you, outputs or outcomes that are slightly different when it comes to some of the data. You could actually do some really smart meter readings to come to know, at different levels, where are we seeing, losses increase or decrease, and I could kind of zoom in here. Drastically to kind of show you data on whether a particular meter has loss on it or not. And another interesting one that I thought I'd show you is the collections piece. So again, we create these, so you connect to all the data that you have, and so you kind of add all the data that you have. So In this case, we've had, customer loan data, we've had, credit card data of the customers, we have how much loan outstanding is there, we have, tons of data sources, we have their transaction data in Pinnacle, and so you kind of build these, what products they currently own, so the data sets get very large and they go into, billions of records. And then we build these smart pipelines. So you kind of build a pipeline. This is what the AI methodology is about, right? You build a pipeline to connect to the data, merge the data up, you encode the data, you vectorize it. So essentially making the data understandable to a machine. Like a machine's not going to understand when you say this person lives in Mumbai and this person lives in Hyderabad. A machine not going to understand that. But what a machine will understand is that this is the latitude, longitude of Mumbai, this is the latitude, longitude of XYZ person, and it's able to differentiate between those two suddenly very smartly, right? Oh, okay, this lat long is very far from this lat long, so these people are not in close vicinity. Whereas if I'm in Nasik or I'm in Pune, suddenly my latitude, longitude variables are very close. Suddenly it knows that, hey, this person is going to actually be pretty close by. And then once you leverage that, you could actually run like a deep learning model, and what that model will do, let's run one. So it's just running the model and generating some insights. So similarly to the problem that I was talking about, the collections problem. And what is done is a couple of interesting things here, right? It's suddenly spat out to me what are the insignificant variables, right? Variables that have no impact in my problem. This is my accuracy. So I reached about 80% accuracy. Obviously, I just ran the model on my laptop, so it's not that strong as of yet. But so total debits on accounts don't matter. Total debit balance in months doesn't matter. These are all insignificant variables. Two things that are interesting. One is it's showing, let me try and zoom in. I know it's coming a little unclear for you guys. But yeah, so interesting things that it's trying to show me that, these are the correlations between the different variables, right? So for example, this negative 0.84, and for all of you that are more mathematically inclined, I always was. So I was always better at the CA exams that were math oriented as opposed to, I did really badly in law, I remember. So, yeah, so if you look at this, right, so it's saying balance is, net earnings for the last 3 months is negatively correlated to the debit balances, which makes sense, right? Because if my earnings are starting to fall, probably I'm going to start hitting a lot of stress and a lot more debits are going to start hitting my account. So there are lots of insights that the algorithm, the amount of balance that I have in my account on average is directly related to amount of credit limit that I'm typically being given. So you have these interesting insights. And if I scroll down now further, zoom out again. And if I see this is where the interesting meat is, right? What are my variables that are positively and negatively affecting my problem? And this is where the analysis becomes really deep, right? So, we had a question around, how does the data, how can you tell from the data, what's happening? But this is what the data is on. So let me zoom in this section. This is an interesting section. So what it's saying is, if the account starts seeing increased earnings, that means it's negatively related to my chance of defaulting. Right, so in the month 5 and month 4 and month 5, typically, let's say your current month is the 6th month. That's how the algorithm works. But month 5, month 4 earnings start to see an upswing, means your chance of default goes down. Month 5, month 4, debit transactions start to go up, which means there's a lot of exits happening from my account. These are some fairly obvious ones, right? I think if we asked a room full of CAs and took a survey of what do you think would be stress on an account studying its financial data, I think everyone would kind of say these popular indicators, right? Net earnings starting to fall in the last 3 months, total credit balances, these are all standard ones. So let's go to the more interesting ones, right? What interesting could the algorithm pick up? Because this, I feel any human could also pick up and kind of give you the same insights. So let's go here now. And this is what makes the algorithm accurate, right? So where do we move from, let's say 60% accuracy to 80, 90, 95% accuracy is here. Because the human intelligence itself is also really strong and I think has great powers. So here is interesting, right? Anyone who's done, this is just for this particular data set. So, take it with a pinch of salt. It doesn't generally mean anything, right? It's for this particular bank or organization. But interestingly, people who've done educational diplomas or who mark their education as other professional course, right? Those have a higher chance of default and that's probably because in that region where this piece was deployed, is degree holders would earn a lot more, or they have a higher earning possibility, right? Or MBAs or postgraduates would earn a lot more. People whose education ended at college or college and didn't have a post degree, it's people whose education ended at who have college education or university education, or in this case, people who've done other professional courses. So CA being one, they have a lower chance of being defaulters, right? Because suddenly they have a higher earning potential. Even if they get fired from their job, they could have higher potential. Let's go more to the right and see the other interesting one, right? Teachers have a negative correlation. That's a really interesting one. This one's a really interesting one, right? Caretakers, messengers, waiters, security staff they have a negative correlation for default, and that's probably because during COVID you would see a lot of like Swiggy and a lot of messenger guys. A lot of them have started seeing better uptake in their roles. Right, security roles have gone up. Waiters, I feel, is just probably because it's these roles of people have moved to other professions. But it's interesting to know. And let's keep moving down the ladder to see if there's anything interesting else. Okay, this is an interesting one. So for all you married folks out there, right? So it's saying if your if your status is divorced, you have a higher probability of default than someone who's not divorced, and that kind of makes sense, right? Two people earning collectively and sharing on two wage earners or breadwinners in a family, right? So husband wife both have earning capacity. One loses the job, you still have a capability of paying off, right? And both can work together. But if you're divorced, it's probably going to be a single wage earner, so you are at higher risk, essentially. And similarly, kind of, you kind of start having the interesting insights. City affects a lot, right? Which city are you at? Those could have some interesting variables and all. So, when you start seeing some of the outcomes of the algorithm, it's phenomenal, right? See, United Kingdom over here seeing it's a higher chance of default, probably because UK is facing a lot more stress when it comes to some of this. So the power of data that the phenomenal and the fun things you can do when you have access to a lot of this data is crazy. And let me show you what a prediction looks like, right? So I'm going to scroll through really quick and show you what a prediction looks like, just for you guys to understand how an AI outcome actually comes. You always see all these fun movies where you see some really cool things happening because of the AI, but sometimes the outcomes are really simple, right? They're not. They're typically an Excel sheet or an outcome table sheet that the algorithm runs. So this is all the data. Let's see the outcome, right? So this is what the algorithms predicted based on all this customer data that we had. So it merged it, and it's kind of got a score out saying either this customer will become more delinquent or this customer is going to become less delinquent, right? So 0 for less delinquent, more delinquent, 1 for less delinquent, and suddenly you have a big sheet of data that you can just push into action, right? What do I want to do with customers that are going to become more delinquent? Let me put my most expensive channels. Customers that are going to become less delinquent on their own, let me just drop them an SMS and my business is sorted, right? So this simple decisioning, factoring in stuff like marriage, factoring in stuff like education, can make the business so much more phenomenally more efficient, right? And you could, this is like a breakdown of the data when it comes to defaults. So yeah.
Any idea you could use this kind of a technology, this kind of tool for detecting frauds in an account or something like that? The tendency, I don't know, I'm just thinking loud because some of them have asked that question also, but do you think this can be used for identification of frauds or tendency to incur frauds or something like that?
Absolutely. So fraud is actually a very, very big use case. And if you see my first few slides, I actually talk about fraud in two very interesting ways. So one is you could show an algorithm a set of frauds that have happened in the past, and it would actually come back and say, hey, here are other frauds that I'm sure transactions that look like frauds. And the other way of looking at it is just anomaly transactions. That's another interesting one. So you don't show the algorithm any frauds. You say, just go through the data. Just go through the data. It's a very interesting approach. Let me see if I could try and explain it in a less technical way. But essentially, a neural net is told that here was a transaction. Okay, so here's all the data of this transaction. Compress it down to a very small, so if a transaction has like 100 data points for the transaction, right? The amount, the merchant it was transferred, what time it was transferred, what bank did it go in from, what bank, so lots of data. Compress it down to, let's say, 2-3 data points, and then the algorithm will try and recreate the data from, right? So it's almost like you how should I put it? It's like if you were to take an essay, you wrote a big essay, right? And I say, okay, it's a 100-word essay. Now rewrite the same essay in 10 words, okay? And someone should be able to take those 10 words and recreate back a 50-word essay from it, which looks very similar to your original essay, right? So it's obviously going to be, you're going to try and take those keywords in those 10 words that you have, you're going to try and take keywords that actually represent as much of the essay as possible, so that when someone tries to make whole sentences back, he kind of has the essay back. And that's what fraud algorithms do, right? They take the fraud transaction, they compress it, and then they try and uncompress it. And then they see which of those transactions were not able to uncompress, right? When we did an essay, we created the big essay, we created the small, and then when we try to recreate our essay, we're not able to recreate. And the reason the algorithm will probably not be able to recreate, because it's a little funny. The transaction was a little funny, and that's what we call as an anomaly or outlier transaction. There's this interesting story. We're working at the bank, and essentially what they told us at that time was they wanted to try and find the they were working with a lot of, at that time, steel organizations were in a lot of stress. So they came to us and said, can we find the Vijay Mallya transactions that are happening? And you say, okay, what do you mean Vijay Mallya transaction? So they came back and said, basically, from all this transaction data, can we study all steel organizations and see which transactions don't look like they belong to a steel organization? Probably means that the company is taking out money from this organization or doing transactions that are of abnormal nature, and that probably means embezzling transactions or removing money from the organization, right? And it's incredibly powerful, because it actually made a lot of sense when we did it, right? You analyze all steel transaction data, and you start seeing bigger anomaly transactions. They'll start coming up on the screen very quickly, and suddenly you're like, yeah, these transactions don't make sense. They're large volume. Typically, steel vendors don't interact with these kind of merchants and these kind of locations, and they don't do these transactions at this volume, this time. And suddenly you can actually very easily catch fraud in the system. So it does get pretty powerful when you actually start looking at it. So I'm going to show you guys another, interesting example. Let me see if I can open it. This one's on, the conversational AI piece. I know we've not talked about much from there, but can we have smart AI after hours? Can we have smart solutions that interact with customers, right? As CAs, I think a lot of what we're seeing is a lot of businesses and are coming back to us and saying, can we access our accounts or access the data in our accounts in a more conversational way? Like, can we ask an algorithm something and can it return us those outcomes of data? So here's an interesting example of that. I'm just going to see. Okay, let's see. Hopefully it should work. Have echo. So as soon as I launch her, she's going to speak. I'm not sure whether you guys will get the audio. I don't think you'll get the audio, but we'll kind of try anyways. So, she's talking to me, she's kind of having an interaction, and this one's actually trying to figure out which is the right credit card for me. So she kind of asked me fun questions. She'll ask me what my age is. Go ahead and put it, earnings, and I can speak to her as well, right? So if I just say around $1 million, so I'm just going to say a random number right now. But yeah, so she's going to pick it up. So it's almost like I can have a conversation with her, right? She can talk back to me, I can talk to her, and I can click as well. And she's kind of figuring out what is the right card for me. My dates are typically not flexible. And then she's asking what airline. I fly a lot of American Airlines. It's not a really good airline anyways, though. And she's figuring out the right card for me. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
Yeah, we are not able to hear actually that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I realized. I think because the screen audio doesn't go through.
Right. Also, can you also tell, so for example, these chartered accountants who are here, all of us would want to learn AI, or I don't know how to use AI or whatever. Do you know some good courses that we should do? Of course, ICI is coming out with a course on this very soon, but are there any off-the-shelf tools available? Because what I understand, AI is more like a program, which is part of
Right.
a software or something like that, that gets inbuilt. But
Right.
what do you suggest if these people have to get on? So I was just thinking, if at all, for example, if I'm investigating an account, for example, right, and I see some vendors. Now, if I have an algorithm wherein I have using SEBI, using MCA, using income tax, all these blacklisted entities, their PAN and their directors, if I can put a repository, and then I can just run an algorithm for anywhere that I find these hints of these people or these names in this data of an industry that I'm investigating. Probably it should throw out, and there should be an indication to say that look, I think there could be some fraud here, or these entries are not genuine, or something of
Right.
those lines. So if
No,
that all has,
absolutely.
what do you think should be? How can that be done?
Sure, sure. And in fact, interestingly, we've been working with a few stock exchanges, both in India and outside, where it actually tries to route or understand the money trail from blacklisted PANs and directors, and kind of trace back where the money is flowing and how it's flowing, and can actually tell you if someone's doing related party transactions in a big listed company, and is there any insider trading or movements that are going on. I think it's the best approach. I say there are two approaches to it. I'll put to your question. One is for organizations or people that are looking at, well, not becoming AI coders, but saying that I want to understand AI, because once you understand it, you're going to be able to know what's possible, what's not possible. And I want to understand AI at a deeper level, just understand what's happening on the ground, and then build a business understanding, and then probably get a company that, or a tool that leverages AI, and kind of leverage it for my particular use case, right? So that's the first approach, and I think a great course for that would be Andrew Ng, if you guys have heard of him. So Andrew Ng runs a very popular course which is on how to leverage AI in your business, and kind of gives you an understanding of AI from a fundamental level, but from a big focus on how to leverage it in your business, not so much on uh, like coding your own AI algorithms. So I think that's a great source for that. For those that are more technologically inclined and really want to get in the weeds, and really want to figure it out, it's a tricky question, because I think there'll be good, interesting courses on Udemy or other sources. My answer to this would be pretty poor, because I actually learned a lot of the technology and coding from really random resources. I used to read a lot of research papers on AI, and kind of I used to I've been researching the space for the last 7-8 years, right? So my ways of learning, and 10 years back, the ways of learning were very different from what they are now when it comes
So any
to.
good books, any good books or something, papers that you could suggest for us to read? Hitesh ji and Deepak ji, Harish ji, all of them are asking this question, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I
Anything
think,
that
yeah, maybe what I could do is maybe post this. I'll send it out to you, Arpit, and you could send it to the larger audience. Could send you
will
guys
do.
a good list of AI material that's actually interesting, that you guys should definitely kind of read, and will kind of come across. There's one which is called the multi-model approach. It's an interesting book. It's just about how you could leverage different, not just AI but machine learning models together to kind of get really high accuracies in your different use cases in the business. So that's another interesting one. When it comes to the tools, I think the tools are a little challenging. Typically, you need to get, if you want to use slightly more complex AI algorithms, when you don't have technical knowledge, then I'd say the best approach is to find a company that does AI, that can just help you kind of take your business intelligence and marry it with what you kind of have as a from a perspective of saying that, okay, this is something what you wanted to do. So kind of have that approach has been an interesting one that I found.
Superb, Abhinav. I think that sums up really well. I think all the answers and questions, and believe me, friends, if there are these questions, we have fantastic speakers next lined up also. we'll wait to hear them also, and probably we'll try and take these questions. Some of the questions that I've not answered is basically because I've not taken up is basically because of that. And all of these would be answered in the next coming sessions. So Abhinav, any quick closing comments before we can move on with the next session?
No, I think it was, I think it was lovely talking to everyone. I would have loved to meet everyone in person, and hopefully next year, now that the vaccine is out, we would get that opportunity. But I think it was lovely interacting with everyone, and I think follow your passion. I think that's, one thing I want to leave you with is, come back to your core value. No matter what you do, if you kind of really stick to your core value, you can make some great success in those areas, right? So I think that's a key focus that I'd like to leave you guys with.
Superb. Thanks, Abhinav. And friends, to do the vote of thanks here, I think a fantastic technology-oriented session. A vote of thanks can be done by again a technocrat, again a guy who's technologically, very sound, has a keen zeal to do everything on technology, and someone who really pioneers technology at WRC and fires it up with a lot of ideas. My dear colleague Yashwant Kasar, the regional council member, I would request Yashwant Bau to please give a hearty vote of thanks to Abhinav, and also introduce the next speaker who's on screen with us, a very experienced person, and really look forward to his session, Pankaj Roy Gupta ji. Over to you, Yashwant.
Thank you, Arpit. Dear friends, Abhinav, in a very simple language, in a very lucid way, given us the overview what AI can do. I would say AI is not the future, but it's the present now. It's already here, and we are experiencing, different industries are experiencing what it can do, and they are leveraging on it like anything. And as professionals, CA professionals, as Abhinav mentioned in his address, that we can initially and definitely work on the business side of AI. We can help businesses how they can adopt AI, how they can use this AI to streamline their operations, to automate things, and how they can create value using this AI. And CA is the best professional to do that, because we have both, we can analyze the issues very well, and we can provide the solution as a business solution provider. So on behalf of WRC and on behalf of all the participants, I thank Abhinav for his wonderful presentation today. Thank you, Abhinav.
Thanks, thank you, Yashwant ji, for that. And hopefully, I know Anil ji brought this up, but hopefully, I still have that, like I was mentioning, I have the 14 days of I think a training to how to present and that. So hopefully, after this presentation, you won't need me to do that and make me a member very soon.
No, your presentation was wonderful, and you have covered the business cases. That is what is required. Means we can imagine what AI can do, what is the potential, so that that has created curiosity. And I am sure that many of our professionals who are participants here today would take interest in AI because of your session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Abhinav, I'll tell you, we are now doing virtual MCS also, 14 days. You don't have to really go anywhere. You just have to log in through your computer, attend those courses, and I think you would you would be a fantastic, mentor also there. I think with your participation in that entire batch, there will be a lot of benefits to others, and maybe you will get a good network. And I don't know, many people say they've got their good partners also in the GMCS batch. So since you are not married yet, you never know, you may get one chartered accountant from there as well.
I'm actually married, Arpit. I got married since the last time I did.
Oh, okay. So no problem then. But anyways, So for the other part, you can still do the MCS virtually.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think.
I'll send you the link, yeah, Abhinav. Don't worry.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see you soon as a member. Yes.
Yes.
All right, now time to move on, friends. Thanks, Abhinav, for this wonderful session. And Yashwant Bhau, please introduce Pankaj Roy Gupta ji, so that we could go on.
Yes, Arpit. Friends, just like AI, the next big buzzword today in technology arena is big data or the data science. And today we human beings are creating so much data every minute that it's very huge and big. And the science related to data is also a new thing that is evolving. And to talk on that, we have with us a very learned speaker today, Mr. Pankaj Roy Gupta. He is a postgraduate in computer applications, MBA, and research scholar of IIT Kharagpur. Is currently associated as a program director, business analytics with Kirloskar Institute of Advanced Management Studies, Pune, and Harihar, Karnataka. He has over 30 years of cross-functional professional leadership experience in industry, academia, training, and consulting. He has executed a number of international consulting projects at USA, Russia, Israel, Thailand, Korea, etc. He was associated as consultant with E&Y, Chief Technology Advisor with Purjit Softwares Private Limited, an IT product development and consulting company at Pune, and also as a consultant with Gold Leaf Corporation, Pune. He has worked with University of Petroleum and Energy Studies as Vice President, Institutional Affairs and Director, Western Regions. He has worked with International Institute of Information Technology, Pune, Vice President, and International Relations Special Projects and Chief Operating Officer. His research interests are in data, business analytics solutions, BI, AI, machine learning, Internet of Things, etc. on various functional areas for various industry domains. So friends, we have such a learned faculty with us. So without wasting much time, I request Pankaj ji to please address the participants.
Thank you, Yashwant ji. So can I now start?
Yes, Pankaj, please.
Yeah, is my screen is visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
So please switch on to slideshow. Perfect.
I can't see my screen.
So you will not be able to see it. You will
But
just
I can't
be
see
able
the
to.
presentation.
Yeah, acha, presentation. Okay, presentation you should be able to see.
I can see only you people's, photo.
Okay. Mishra ji, please look into it.
तो कंट्रोल दे दो सर, भेजा आपको.
Yeah, ठीक है. Now it has come.
So we cannot see it.
You can't see?
Sir.
Can you see the slides?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Give control.
मिश्रा जी एक बार कंट्रोल हटा के वापस देना उनको. Sir, please select now, show my screen again. Right. So now we can see.
But I can't see my screen. I can see
so probably, sir, it will take some seconds. If you can.
Yeah, now I can see.
Yeah, it takes some seconds.
Yes.
Sir. It will happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it visible to everybody? Is it visible?
Perfect. Please go ahead, sir.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on the subject called significance of data science application in financial functions. I'm representing C4i4, Center for Industry 4.0, an initiative by Kirloskar Group, and also I'm associated with Kirloskar Institute of Advanced Management Studies, and also providing various analytics consulting solution to a number of companies. I'll be talking a very, very fundamental concept about data science and the application of data science in the financial functions. Mr. Abhinav has spoken excellent in the areas of AI applications in finance. And after that heavy sessions, I'll be talking very basics, that how you can build an AI applications or a machine learning or deep learning applications by using the concept of data science. So these are the three sections that I'm going to speak. And after this session, after my session, my colleague, he will be talking about the use of Excel as one of the powerful tool and how you can use some of the data science applications of financial functions using Excel as a tool. So let me start with to understand that what is data science. Many of us, we have now spoken about AI for last more than an hour. So before we get into an AI applications, we must know that these applications are built on the base of data. I'm addressing the chartered accountants, qualified chartered accountants, and also maybe the students who are now pursuing CA. I have worked extensively with multiple chartered accountants across India and outside. I was also associated with ENY and did a lot of projects with them. So I understand the type of applications, type of work the chartered accountant they do, whether they are a professional chartered accountant or they are working with the corporates and providing the various type of financial applications to the company. Now, before we get into the data science, let me go into the very basics. We know that what is data? Data is basically a collection of raw facts and figures, which is unprocessed. Data is also a type of information. When you build an AI application or machine learning application, you need to use a lot of data. To build a machine learning algorithm and to make an intelligent systems, we need to work on training data. And this training data, creating training data and applying the training data to test your algorithm, it's not an easy task. So we need to understand that data is not only the raw facts and figure, it is also sound, images, videos, which we collect today with the help of technology. Today, technology is easily available, which helping us to collect this observational data. In fact, I have initiated a project using computer vision to predict oral cancer, and that's called image analytics. I have initiated a project. I have initiated the work with AIIMS, New Delhi, and doing some pilot run. Now that's an image. Now from the image data also you can extract intelligence. But to extract intelligence, we need to know the entire flow. So now there are two ways by which we represent the data. One is called analog and the second one is called digital. Now the digital data is the data that we store in computers. And if you take an example, that if I write 17 million, does it showing any meaning? Can I extract some meaning from that? No. So what I need to do is that along with the number, we need to give some sort of values. Like if you take an example, this 45, 23, 67, 82, 71, these numbers are the math test marks of Ritesh in the last 10 weeks. Now from this particular set of data, we can extract some valuable intelligence. So that's called the data. So if you are clear about the data, let's try to understand that what type of forms of data which are used for creating data science applications. As for the Forbes, there are 13 different types of data that are used for creating data science application. We use structured, unstructured, semi-structured data. Now this data, structured data generally comes from enterprise applications. like a company is running ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, integrated online transaction processing system. A company is running their CRM system or supply chain management system, or company is running B2B application or B2C application. All these applications, they create huge volume of data which are mostly structured. When we work in an organization, we also create a lot of unstructured data, like if you are capturing data using Excel. So Excel, some part of the data is structured, some part of the data is unstructured. So when we build a data science application, you need to treat with this structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. We also need to use time-stamped data. Time-stamped data means the data captured on a particular time, a data processed on a particular time, because time gives us a lot of valuable insight. Third category of data is called machine data. Today we talk about IoT, IIoT, and there are a lot of financial applications which are also getting built on IoT based technologies. There are data which are also collected based upon the location and the time. We have a data called open data. Open data which you can collect where there is no rights. You need to consider open data also. There is a type of data which is called dark data. Now, dark data are the data and information which gets created by the organizations, but they are not gets used. They are dormant in time. So you also need to identify such type of data and may have to consider to extract intelligence. Then we have real-time data, we have genomic data, we have operational data, we have high dimensional data. This is very important. High dimensional data are basically data like facial recognition technologies, image processing, etc. We have also data which are called unverified, outdated data. Unverified, outdated data. This data has been collected, but nobody has any idea whether it is relevant, accurate, but you may have to consider such type of data to create your data science application. How do we create data science application? I will come a little later. Then we have translytic data and the big data. Somebody was talking about big data. So big data is today one of the important form of data which technology is helping us to collect easily. But after that, we don't know how to use that big data for extracting intelligence. There are a lot of applications. Just last week, I initiated a discussion with HDFC Bank. They want certain big data facial recognitions applications. So I have given them an algorithm. So they have started creating a POC and then they will get back to us. Now, before I get into data science, let me spend 1 minute on what is science. I'm addressing the people who are chartered accountant. Many of them may have done science in the school and then have taken chartered accountancy. But what is science? Science tells us the basic fundamental reasons behind any problem related with earth, nature, universe, society, business, with the help of hypotheses, models, formulas, justifications. Now, to prove that, what you need data. So if I combine data and science, so we come to this called data science. So data science, if you see this diagram on the right hand side, it is an interdisciplinary field that uses scientific methods, processes, algorithms, and that algorithm may be an AI algorithm, machine learning algorithm, deep learning algorithm. Now there are many new future technology-based algorithms are coming up, technologies are coming up, which will be used for creating a very, very complex data science applications. So data science not only related with this AI, ML and this, they are also related with data mining, statistical and operational research, data analysis, and also, of course, the big data technology and big data analytics. Now, to work on the data science applications areas, the most important thing is that you must have domain expertise. Without domain expertise, let's suppose if you people want to get into the data science applied applications in finance function, you must have a strong domain expertise. Now, all of you cannot become a programmer. If you want to write some code using, R or Python or any other, language or any other tools, you can learn that. But what is required is, along with your domain expertise, you must have understanding about analytical techniques. Now, these analytic techniques are basically, you can use the statistical techniques, statistical data analysis, or maybe a lot of mathematical, let's suppose if you are doing an audit, I'll speak about the audit, how, the data science application is used in audit. In the audit, maybe you can use OR techniques, operational research technique. You can also use statistical, data analysis, also use OR techniques, operational research technique. So you must know that how to use those techniques on the data sets for extracting intelligence. So this is about data science. And if you see this, this is called DIKW pyramid. Any data science applications helps us in taking decision based upon the knowledge that we extract, and that helps in getting that from the data, and that data may be in different forms. Okay, so there are different forms of data which you can learn and identify that how that data can be used for extracting intelligence. So from data, if you do processing, it will go to the information. From the information, we need to use either analysis of data or analytics of data and extract the knowledge. And from there, we need to create the wisdom. And that wisdom will help us in taking the right decisions. There are a lot of companies who have started using AI or data science applications. But the most problem that I have seen, if I show you a data visualized report using some tools, on back of that report there may be lakhs of data points, lakhs of data, and that lakhs of data is getting represented in a visual form, and by seeing that you have to take a decision. I have seen the people, they don't know how to use that analytics outcomes and take decisions in their work areas. So there are a lot of requirement of understanding the analytics findings and then take actions accordingly. There also we need a lot of understanding, knowledge, and applied activities by which we can take the correct decisions in the different organizational functions. The data, many of us know the data, the sources of data is very important. Whenever you do a data science applications, you must know that from where I will get the data. So data can be a secondary data or it can be a primary data. If it is a primary data, you need to collect the data by doing some sort of questionnaires, by observations, or if it is an external data, you need to find out the sources from where you can get those data. So combining this primary and secondary data, you have to build your data science applications. Now, if you see this particular slide, you will see that in the banking there are 4 categories of data: video data, image data, audio data, and text and numbers. If I have to define data, so data is basically either in the form of video, image, audio, text, or numbers. If you see this, in the banking, insurance, the text and number data is in high, whereas video, image, audio data are in less. Whereas if you get into the healthcare, you see the image data is very high. So that's the reason, I said that I have initiated a project to detect oral cancer by using image analytics, okay? And that is done with the help of computer visions. And there are a lot of other techniques which are used. Now, if you see this, government has now started collecting a lot of video data. How? If you go to any of the, the traffic, you will see there are 5, 6, 10 cameras are there. And all these cameras are constantly capturing data, streaming data. But after that, do we have the right applications? Do we have the right data science application to extract intelligence from those video data? No, we don't have. If you take the audio data, if you take the communication and media, educations, we capture a lot of audio data, sound data. But after that, we listen, but we don't know how to use that data to extract intelligence. So there are enormous opportunity for us to develop applications, data science applications related with all these industries and the functions to build intelligence applications, data science driven applications. I hope up to this is clear. Now, before I get into this, I'll just quickly spend a couple of minutes in understanding the difference between data analysis and data analytics. All of us always do data analysis, and you being a chartered accountant, you always have to do data analysis. And whenever you are doing data analysis, you may be using some tool, maybe Excel or some other platforms, and mostly Excel, and you are doing some analysis of the data. So in that analysis, what we do after analyzing, you extract certain intelligent information in the form of MIS or executive information system. Now in that, what we do, we collect the data, we understand the data. The most important skill to become or to develop a data science applications for any functional domain, for any industry, the most important thing is that we need to understand the data. By seeing the data, you should be in a position that, yes, these are the data that I am going to use for developing an applications. Few months back, I was executing a project for a IT company, and they gave a problem. Whenever we start any analytics, data science application problem, the most difficult thing is that we don't know which are the data that we need to consider to build and develop the hypothesis. So we need to define the problem, and defining the problem is the most difficult task. So how do we start a data science application in the finance domain or any other functional domain? First is that you need to understand that what is the the pain area. And based upon the pain area, you need to find out that what are the KPIs, current KPIs, key performance indicators. If you can identify the current KPIs, then you decide that what are your future KPIs that you are planning to achieve. And based on that, the most difficult phase is that identifying the data and the data sources. I'll tell you, while I was executing that project, I found that we need to collect data from near about 25 to 30 data sources. And we have derived around 18 hypotheses. And when we started getting into this hypothesis to see, can we test this hypothesis by collecting and cleaning the data, then we found that there are only 8 hypotheses that we can prove. The balance 10 we cannot test because due to the non-availability of data. But we have defined the problem. We know that if we can, the problem, I will tell you, the problem was there are some companies, large IT companies. The problem is the 20 to 25% people, after receiving the offer, they don't join. Why they don't join? And this company, they spend near about 1 lakh to 2 lakh rupees for hiring these senior level people. And after these people, they receive their offer, before joining the company, they don't join. So 20 to 25% people, they don't join. And in the process, the company was losing a lot of money and it was making an impact on their bottom line. So they wanted to come out with a solution, data science application, to solve this problem. So when we started analyzing the data, we found that there are a lot of data that the company is not capturing. And if you are not capturing the data, if the data is not available, you'll not be able to do the right sort of data science applications. So data analysis is the process of extracting intelligence by cleaning, transforming, and analyzing. And typically when you do data analysis, we use different type of operators. What are those operators? We use arithmetic operators, we use logical operators, we use Boolean operators. By using this operator, we create complex, algorithm, and we extract intelligence from the data. Sometimes you also create data model. And if you are familiar with Excel as a small, powerful office productivity tool, it helps us in creating a lot of complex data model by using different type of advanced functionalities available in Excel. Now there are these tools are used. We have Excel, SPSS, R, SQL, Python, SAS, MATLAB, Java. These are the tools which can be used for doing data analysis. Now let's try to understand data analytics. What is the difference? In the data analytics, again we analyze the data and we extract intelligence. In case of data analytics, we use what? We use analytical techniques. And what techniques? We use either statistical data analysis, or we use machine learning algorithm, we use deep learning algorithm, or we may use OR, operational research, algorithm for getting optimizations, solving optimization problems. Or we can use other techniques like, reverse engineering, forward engineering. There are many other techniques which are used by which we extract hidden insight from the data. And based upon this hidden insight from the data, what we do a lot of analytical reporting. Now, like data analysis, you have a lot of tools which are used for data analytics. Now, if you see this R, Python, Apache Spark, Apache Storm, Pig, Hive, these are all open source tools, and these are the companies who are using these tools for extracting intelligence by doing data analytics, data science applications. There are certain commercial tools. The difference between commercial and open source is that for commercial tools, you need to pay license cost. So if you want to use this, you have to pay some money to use that software and use this tool, use your data and extract the intelligence. Now, I told you that when you use data analytics, you need to use different techniques. Now, these are some of the techniques you can use, machine learning, fusion and integration, clustering, you can use genetic algorithm, optimization, using OR techniques, natural language processing. This is one very important in a lot of financial applications. We are started using NLP, natural language processing. For doing deep learning algorithm, we can use neural networks. We can also apply data mining techniques, classification tree, association rule. There are many. So based upon the nature of the problem, based upon the type of the problem, based upon the availability of the data, we need to select that which techniques we should use for developing data science application by using data analytics. Typically the difference is in analysis, we get into the past and we find out, why, how, this. Whereas in analytics, we try to find out about the future. What is going to happen? And in that, what we do in the quantitative, we use formula algorithm. And if it is a qualitative related, predictions, we use intuitions, we use a lot of, advanced analysis. Now, based on that, the data analytics has been classified in 4 different types. One is called descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. Descriptive means a set of techniques for reviewing and examining the data set to understand the data and analyze the business performance. So if you see this particular graph, so descriptive analytics tells us what happened. Diagnostic analytics will tell us that why did it happen. Now from here we have to get into the predictive and prescriptive analytics. Mr. Abhinav was talking about a lot of predictive and prescriptive analytics where you need to use advanced analytical techniques using machine learning, deep learning algorithms. Okay, you can also use statistical techniques using regressions, using multivariate data analytics. You can also use number of dependent variables and its impact on number of dependent variables and its impact on multiple independent variables. Dependent variables and independent variables, your model will become very complex regression model, and you can do some sort of predictive forecasting using such type of complex model. Now let's try to understand. So we have discussed now data analysis, business analysis, and business analytics. Now there is a concept which is called BI. Many of us, we do a lot of BI. Now BI is business intelligence. What is the most important difference in BI? What we do, we use the enterprise data which was collected by different type of applications like ERP or financial accounting or maybe CRM, and we use that data from the databases where based upon the transaction the data was created. We use the data, do some sort of transformation using a concept which is called ETL, extraction, transformation, loading, and we create multi-dimensional databases, data warehouse, that is called data warehouse. And using the different type of BI tools, we create dashboard, we create a lot of data visualizations, and that is called BI application. Now BI application is not BA application, is not a data science application. So, but BI is a low-level data science application. So if you see the data science applications, we have already discussed what is data, and we have also discussed what is science. So science will tell us the basic fundamental reasons behind any issue, any problem, with the help of analysis and by using certain hypotheses, formulas, models. But the complexity of the business data science application will vary. So if it is a basic applications, you can do by data analysis or business analysis. If it's little difficult, then you can also go and BI applications, BI data science application. If it is little complex, you can go to the business analytics application. If it is more complex, you can go to the advanced business analytics or data science application using AI, ML, and DL. Now, one of the important part of any data science application is the final output. Now these outputs are shown with the help of data visualization. So there are multiple visualization tools. I can tell you there are maybe around 200 plus different visualization tools by which you can represent your data. And this representation of data depends upon the type of analysis, the type of analytics, type of techniques that you have used, and representing the hidden insight from the data sets, from the data trends. And that can be represented with the help of visualization by using different type of charts, graphs, or dynamic charts, or by using data-driven story. Mr. Abhinav was showing certain visualizations which are very, very powerful visualizations, and there are a lot of charts or graphs he was showing, but they were changing dynamically, because on the back there are huge data sets which are getting used and changing the dimensions of your visualizations representation. So that's the power of data visualization in any data science applications. Now there are certain tools which are used. One of the highly accepted tool is Tableau, but other than Tableau, many companies are using ClickView, Plotly, Fusion Charts, Data Wrapper, CSense. There are many hundreds of such type of tools are used for representing the data after analytics, after data science findings, and presenting to the customer, presenting to the end user, presenting to your consumers. Now with this background, let me quickly summarize. The data science application starts with your business understanding. Domain understanding is very important, whether it is a banking applications or an insurance application. Under banking application, whether it is a retail banking or a corporate banking. Within retail banking, whether you are doing savings accounts or current account or loan, so you need to know about the entire business functions and the stakeholder associated with this business functions. After that, you need to have an analytics understanding. Now, what is analytics? Analytics means extracting hidden insights, extracting intelligence from the data which is getting created by these business functions, and how that business functions are getting influenced by the environmental, or the surroundings. So you may have to also consider the external data, because combining external and internal data, you should be in a position to extract, a better intelligence for the business results. So data requirement is very important. After data requirements, you have to go and find out the data collections. Once you collected the data, then you have to have an understanding about the data. Now from data requirement, data understanding to data preparation, this takes nearly 60 to 70% of your any data science application. But if you have built a strong pipeline of availability of the data, and then you have a data preparation flow, then from here you need to create your data model, execute the data model. When you create the data model, here you need to use all these analytical techniques, statistical techniques, AI, ML, DL, and then you go for evaluation, then deploy, get the feedback. In case there is a problem, you have to come back and check your model. In case there are further complexity, maybe there are some problem in the data, you may have to come back to the data collection. This is an iterative process. It takes a lot of time. And I have executed many live projects, and I've seen sometimes it takes long time to satisfy your customer, because they are expecting something, but you are not getting the right data. So that is not your problem. The problem is in the data. And if it is a complex, if you take an example of Bank of America or any foreign bank, they have operations across the globe. Many Indian banks have now have operations, in different countries. Now, if you are building some applications for such type of banks, you will be getting data from different technology platform. From somewhere you'll be getting data from IBM system. Somewhere you'll be getting data in a different, format. So what you need to do is that changing those data, cleaning those data, and then creating the data sets for extracting intelligence, it becomes a very, very complex process. And once you have the clean, clear data sets, your data is ready. And from there, you need to build your model and get into the, the evaluation process and find out, extract the intelligence. So this entire process is the data science. Now, you need to follow this data science in your financial applications. Now, there is another concept which is called data mining. I'm not getting into this. Mining is basically a process where we use computer science application, because we create data warehouse. We use ETL techniques, extraction, transformation, and loading. And after that, we use different statistical techniques, clustering, grouping, all those things, and by which we extract the intelligence. In data mining, we try to find out what is the relationship between the variables and the trends which is there. And that you can find out by using or applying the different statistical analysis or statistical techniques. Now, once you do this, then you come to the data model, and from the data model, we develop the different application. I'm not getting into the AI because Mr. Abhinav has explained in detail the application of AI. So, but these are all advanced data science techniques for developing data science applications. So you have AI, machine learning, and then finally we have to deal with this big data. Now, big data today is what? See, whenever we run an application, run a business applications in an organization, we use enterprise applications like ERP, CRM, SCM, and this particular applications, it create data, and those data are stored in a relational database like Oracle, or IBM has data called DB2, UDB. Microsoft has SQL Server. There are other, the financial applications, stock exchange applications, it runs on Sybase. There are many large financial application runs on a database which is an RDBMS called Sybase. Now, this data has a limitations, but if you are collecting data which has high volume, it has a velocity. That means at very high speed the data is getting generated. Variety of data. Variety means some data, we have discussed that data can be image, video, sound, or audio data, or maybe text, facts and figure. Now, facts and figure data is easy to store into an RDBMS, but if there are multiple varieties of data that are coming, how you will store this? So there, and if you are not storing the data, if you are not making the data available, you cannot run any, or you cannot develop any data science application. The most important part is that, how do we deal with this type of data? And today, technology helps us in capturing data in multiple forms, and that's become a big problem for the technology people, information technology people, to store the data and then to access the data. What is the meaning of access? Access means read and write. We read, we write. We have to read the data. How do you read the data? Which is having a very high velocity, very big in size, different varieties, and it also have different veracity, and it creates a lot of value if you have these 5 attributes, how do you use such type of data? So we have different technologies available. And this technology is called big data technologies. One of the big data technology is called Hadoop cluster. If you see this Hadoop cluster, we store the big data in MongoDB, and there are many other tools right now available by which we can convert the big data and extract intelligence by using the visualization, by using the statistical analysis, using R, Python, etc. So this is storage, this is mining, and this is using analytics, and then this is used for visualization. So big data technologies helps us in converting the big data into a data form by which we can apply the analytical data science technique and create a clean data sets and extract intelligence from there. Now I will explain you quickly few minutes on the data science application in business, and then I will get into the data science applications in finance domain. See, when you create data science applications, the first thing, whether it is a financial applications or a non-financial applications, maybe in the productions, maybe in the operations, maybe in the HR, maybe in the sales, marketing. So what is this required is that you need to understand the problem. After understanding the problem, you have to quantify the data which is required to implement and solve your problem. Then use the tools and then apply the tools and then convert the insight into a form by which you can share with the people. This is a very simple decision-making process, and data science applications helps us in doing such type of activities from the data to an intelligence output. Data science application is used for in multiple areas, in product development, in services, in multiple areas. And I will explain you one particular applications. I'll show you a video. I don't know whether the sound will be available or not. It is a YouTube video on how Walmart, they manage their businesses. Please bear me if you are not getting the sound.
So we are not able to clearly listen to this.
You can't hear the sound?
Not clear, sir. I mean, we are able to hear, but not very clear. I think problem would come.
You can't hear the sound? The video is not clear.
But all of us can view this video later on, maybe how Walmart is, sir. If you can just repeat the pattern.
Okay. Now let's spend a couple of minutes on understanding the data science application in some of the financial functions. Very important. And after that, I will hand over the session to my colleague. He will be showing you the real data analysis on some financial applications by using Excel and using the statistical techniques. So let me explain you a little bit on some of the applications of the financial functions. If you consider not a finance company, if you are associated with a company, they are in production of certain equipments or production of certain materials or providing some services, not on financial services. So what are the typical data science applications can be used on the various financial function areas? One is called financial planning. You can apply a lot of, I'm not getting into any case study because the time will not permit to do so that. Financial planning, forecasting cash flows and outflows, raising funds. You want a break? Hello? Hello?
Pankaj, please continue. Sorry. Just continue.
Okay, I may take another few minutes. I will already 7:30. Okay, forecasting cash flows and outflows, raising funds, allocation of the funds in the right way, effective use of funds, and also the financial control. Now, these are some of the applications which are nowadays used extensively in the financial industries, on the finance industries, like financial risk analytics, consumer analytics, finding out the consumer sentiment analytics, fraud detection. Arpit was asking about that for fraud detection analytics, anomaly detections. You can also do a lot of personalized self-service analytics. Self-service analytics is a big, areas which are coming in a big way, which are all app-driven and algorithmic trading. Now, these are some of the applications which a finance company can use as a data science applications. I just spent a couple of minutes on how can you do financial transactional anomalies. Now, if you are capturing the data based upon your various enterprise applications, you can build certain algorithm. That algorithm will keep a watch on your transactional data, on financial transactional data. And you can use cluster analysis, which is a type of statistical analysis, and it will flag such type of transactions which are having, either a very high value or low value. Automatically, it will keep a watch. And how can you do this? What happens when you are creating a transaction data using an ERP? So there are certain data from your database need to be extracted out, and it has to go into a data set. Remember, one thing I wanted to tell you, for any data science application, you need to create data set. Now, these data sets is basically called observations data. Like when you create a data using an enterprise transactions system, we create a row, and that row is basically a record of a transactions. Now, when you take the data from that record of a transactions and want to build a data science application, you need to convert the data into an observation form, and that observation form is created by creating a data sets. So data sets is having multiple observations, and each observations can have multiple data points, and in that data points you have the values. So what you need to do when you are building a financial transaction and anomalies analytic solutions, you need to extract some part of the data from your enterprise databases which are getting created, and along with that you also need to fit certain external data and build an analytical model by which you can keep a track whether sometimes the values are low or high. In case there is a extreme values, immediately you can give a alarm and find out that what exactly has happened. Every applications, there is a concept which is called audit trail. Whenever you use any enterprise application, whatever transactions are getting executed through that enterprise system, it creates an audit trail. In case there is a alarm by seeing that extreme values, you can go back to that audit trail data. Audit trail is basically a continuous data. Maybe some of you might have done, information system audit. You can know that, in the information system audit, you can refer the audit trail data. In the audit trail data, it is a continuous data. There are certain techniques by which you need to convert that continuous data into a table form and then apply certain intelligence application to find out where exactly something has gone wrong. And you can also find out that at what time, who has done, what was the the transactions, all related details. Second application is called on financial audit. This is an area where a lot of new things, new techniques are getting used. People have started using machine learning algorithm on audit, because in the audit you have a lot of data, and wherever there you have a lot of data, where the volume of data is more, you can easily build a machine learning ML algorithm, and that can help you in finding out that where exactly something has gone wrong. Okay, so this is one area, financial audit. Third area is called, you can also do a lot of process automation. Take an example, process automation means financial applications process automation. If there are some functions like payment collections or depositing something to a particular counter, so why not you think about automating that? How? Either you need to build a hardware or you can develop an applications. Today, the payment applications people are using through mobile app, online applications, and these are called extended applications provided by these different financial institutions. Today, we can make our payment, all sort of payment online. Now, how do you keep a track of such type of activities? So what is required is that in case there is a repeat nature of work, you can use process automation, and that's called RPA, robotic process automation. JP Morgan Chase has launched a contact intelligence platform to leverage the natural language processing based upon this process automations applications. So there are a lot of intelligence can be extracted from the data which you are capturing through these RPAs. Financial fraud detections. There are some applications, some videos are there, which I will not be able to show. So financial fraud also you can use on a real-time basis, and many banks, they have started using this because they have thousands of transactions which are getting captured on a real-time basis. A lot of data is getting created, and you can develop certain applications by which you can find out that whether there is any fraud is happening or not. And this can be done with the help of certain data science intelligence applications. Now I'll just quickly spend 2-3 minutes more. There are certain specific applications, data science applications, which can be used in the banking industry. One of the areas is called better customer targeting and ensuring growth. There are a lot of segmentations, customer segmentations we can do. We can also do a lot of existing customer profiling. There is a technique by which you can do a lot of customer profiling and see the possible growth from the existing customer or also targeting the new customer. These all are data-driven data science applications. Many banks have started using this, and they have already started implementing also. Risk assessment is one other area which many banks have started using data science applications. Productivity and decision making. This is an area where a lot of automations are happening. The teller machines now gets converted into ATMs, and in many banks, I was just talking about that HDFC Bank, they want to use the computer visions based applications for monitoring the people activities inside a branch. Now let's suppose somebody is entering into the branch, so you can take an photo of that person by using the cameras, and then you can immediately go back to the database and find out whether that particular person, what is the nature of past transaction that person have done earlier, whether the person has a current account or savings account or have a locker or and what is the nature of transaction that he is planning to do. You can also do some sort of prediction by doing the computer visions algorithms. So this is to help in improving the productivity, giving a better customer service, and also taking fast data-driven decisions. You know, there are digital banks already there. Now people have started thinking about coming out with augmented reality and virtual reality based banking systems. Maybe down the line after 5 years, you will see that you think about the bank, you will see the bank is in front of you. And you can do transactions on a virtual mode. You can do any sort of banking applications using the visual, technology. That's called AR, VR applications, augmented reality, and virtual reality based application. These are all advanced data science applications. Similarly, if you take the insurance industry, there are a lot of applications that has come. Better product design and marketing. You know, better product design means any insurance product which are getting launched, you can do lot of analysis based upon the existing customer, based upon the the open data. Based upon the open data means collecting the data from the social media or collecting the data from doing some survey, and use those data and understand that whether your product will be doing good, how you'll be marketing your product, how you'll reach out to your existing customer or maybe the future customer. Most of the insurance company, if you see, they launch new product, and while they launch new product, that product gets supported by the lot of risk assessment, underwriting, the different pricing processes. There also you can apply this analytics. So these are some of the data science applications which the insurance industry have started. And another very important area is the claim management. Okay, so you can also find out that what will be the claim, how much the claims you need to settle. So based on that, you can also make your fund flow arrangement. You can also have an interactions with the underwriters. So all these applications you can think about for insurance industries. So these are some of the applications, data science application for insurance industry. And with this, I will conclude my presentations. If you see this, the development of data science technologies. Data science technologies is developing very fast. So the user company, the end user company, they need to start understanding to use this technology and get the benefit. If the end users are not having the right skilled manpower, they can depend upon many consulting companies like Abhinav company, or maybe there are many. And think about, because if you start thinking about creating your own data science team and then start developing an application, it will take a lot of time for you and you will be missing the right time. Okay, so
Pankaj sir, I think amazing.
Yes.
The level of insights that you've given us today. These are
Right.
phenomenal insights actually, and more importantly, something that we all of us can really now relate to is, so as a chartered accountants, if we all have to start working on these technology aspects, I think this is where we have to start picking up things. These are
Yes.
the BIs that you talked about, and all. So I'm just thinking of a scenario wherein I am being appointed as a stock auditor, for example, of a manufacturing entity. All I have to do is take a trend of say for 5 years of that company. Leave aside this lockdown period, but 5 years I have to just interpolate. I have to put it in my system, which will process this data using a data analysis algorithm or a technique, and then give them some production aspects, be it purchases, be it the electricity cost, be it fuel cost,
Yes.
power and fuel, or something like this. I think
Yes.
that system itself will tell me, based on your history, based on the capacity of the plant, and based on the inputs that you've given, I think this should be the output. So this should be either WIP or a closing stock.
Yeah.
And when you compare that, say give a margin of say plus minus 10%, when you compare with the actual numbers, very easily you can, without even doing a physical stock take also, you will be able to comment on whether these numbers are true or fair or whatever. I think these are fantastic applications of this entire data science and data mining. So
Yes.
indeed, amazing, absolutely.
The most important thing is that people who will be involved in implementing this data science application, they must know, they must understand the data. Because see, if building an application only on your facts and figure data, you will not be able to extract the higher level intelligence from the systems. So you need to also think about that. Like if you take an example today, I was a CIO of a companies, and we used to manufacture steel, and we had a huge raw material yard where we used to have that coke, iron ore, and other fluxes. And we had a couple of furnaces where we used to put this raw material to extract the steel. Now what happened, if you put, and this the raw material yard was a huge yard. Now whether we are using the raw material in a proper way or not, whether the furnace operations is doing correctly or not, whether my the finished goods and the realizations of the the financial values are taking place in the proper way or not, this you can put a lot of intelligence applications. Okay,
brilliant, absolutely.
The data is not only the facts and figure. You can also collect data from your cameras, from your voice, and extract and build a lot of applications. So there are hundreds of thousands of applications which are going to come in the near future. And if you see this, maybe finance as a domain will have a lot of applications, and people, all chartered accountant or the people who are involved in the finance domain, they will get a lot of opportunity to build such type of applications. So with this, I will stop. If there are any questions, I can take that, or otherwise hand over.
To all the audience, I'm really happy to share that the C4i4 Labs that is giving us this presentation today on this, they've also agreed to demonstrate all of this through practical training. And I think we have our next speaker. We are just extending this time. I'm taking this liberty of all of you to take you through a small little demonstration of using data mining technology. And although on as you can see on the screen, Shweta ji and madam, we have already done some courses. We have done some sessions using R, using Hathod, using all these technologies. But I think we have just taken some more time and invited another faculty with us. Quickly, I would request Jay Shah, who's also a member of our Digital Accounting Assurance Board committee in WIRC, and who has helped WIRC reach out, and especially me, because I'm very happy and I'm really thankful to Jay that he has helped me connect with C4i4 Labs. I would request Jay to please introduce Manjunath sir quickly, so that we can start with the next extended session, if I were to say, and then I would request Shweta ma'am to have her closing comments at the end. Jay, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yes.
I have some video issues at my place.
No problem. No problem. That's the irony of technology. When you need it the most, it doesn't work.
Yeah. So welcome, Dr. Manjunath. Dr. Manjunath is also from KIAMS, that is Kirloskar Institute of Advanced Management Studies. He's an associate professor there in finance and business analytics. He's got many years of experience in the investment banking and analytics domain, and around 8 years of experience in academic area. So his expertise in the area of applied finance, and his area of interest includes majorly applied finance and analytics. So I think he's together with Professor Roy, he's the best person to teach us the practical aspects on how to use data science and data analytics in the finance sector. So over to you, Dr. Manjunath.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. A pleasure to have both of these gems really with us, and I've really seen them doing this work and assisting some really chartered accountants in giving a fantastic analysis. Manjunath ji, over to you quickly.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Pankaj, sir. Well, in the interest of the time, let me directly get into the main job, what we are actually looking for. In fact, Excel is one of the major tool. And when we talk about the Excel, excelling in Excel, is it possible, is what the first question is. And trust me, nobody can become an Excel in Excel. We know that it is one of the most important tool which plays a predominant role when we talk about the business as a whole, not necessarily finance sector or any specific item. Yeah, it is a tool which is consumed by the data scientist. So the data scientist is what the terminology which is buzzing in the industry now. Every MBA fresher or say any master degree PG guy comes to the platform of a corporate world, they say that they start dreaming that they want to be a data analyst or they want to be a data scientist. Now, when we talk about these kind of data, the analytics analysis, which Pankaj sir already talked about, now we need to understand one important thing, that why is it we are using Excel and what is it we can play around with the Excel? That is the first question everyone should have. Now, when I say data, the first thing one should understand is it is a response to a transaction, and that can have any kind of nature and the different avatars. And different avatar, as already the speakers have touched about, the text data, the imaging data, video data, and then the data in terms of the finance. Now for us, which I always love to play with the data, when we play with the data, we should never have the emotion on this data. When I say the data, the numbers, we play with the numbers. When we are playing with the numbers, we see something like an outlier. So suddenly you will see, let's say you're tracking the mutual fund returns for the last 10 years. If you look into 2008 and 2009, you will see a sharp fall as well as a sharp increase in terms of 2008 and 9. Now, will that data, 2009 data, starting from 2009 to 2020, if I take the 10 years of data and then make the average, will that be a real average? Will that average make sense? It's subjected to the question mark now, because 2008 happened to be a recession. 2009, you saw a kind of recovery, the boom. And when the markets were increased to that extent, the level at which it fall down, that outlier, I'm calling it as an outlier now, the exception, because the growth which you saw in the stock market was a sharp recovery. So that year's data, 2009's data, or the numbers, if you take the averages for the next 10 years, will that be a really making sensible average? It's just an open question, because I'm showing something here. Before we get into that, we need to know something about the workplace when we talk about the Excel. Now we know that it's all about, it's one of the fantastic skill. It's a profitable skill, not only for the employee, but also for the employer. Because any data analysis or any analysis part you talk about today, it is on the Excel. And Excel has become something like, say, a platform for a kid also now to play around. At the same time, the PG guys who says that we claim the MBAs and then we start working on something called as analysis. For that also we need an Excel. Now the question is, how do I use that Excel? What do I do with that? It basically helps us to build a future in terms of making some quick analysis. How do we do that? Maybe we organize the data in a structured format. When Pankaj sir was talking about the text data, if you look into the text data, the data, once it captures, it will be maybe in the form of a structured or a semi-structured or even unstructured. When it is completely unstructured, you will have to make it structured and then you will have to process it. Now, when we are talking about the Excel, yes, absolutely, our data or the numbers, whatever we have in our Excel, are systematically structured. Now, when we have a systematic, structured, organized data, now what do? We try to bring the relationship with all the numbers or the variables or the parameters which we see in the database. Now, when we see the database, it will be completely messy. But we need to have that skill, saying that what do I do with this Excel in terms of finding the required insight. So to bring out the insight, now let me jump into the statistical data analysis for the business now. I have just listed out something which are broadly covered when we talk about at the finance level, at least in the interest of the MBA professionals. We do the stock analysis, we do the data visualization. Yeah, I remember the Tableau, which was mentioned by Professor Pankaj. He was referring to the data visualization and the Tableau. It is one of the powerful tools where you can create the interactive dashboards. Gone those days where you take the data and then get the visualization and get it on your PPT and then present it to your boss. And now your boss says, create a wow impact. How will you create a wow impact? Yeah, sitting in a boardroom and he'll be asking about, you will be giving a breakdown of the presentation, and he says that I want to see something. And if he says something, now you need to bring up that immediate presentation over there. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible with the help of such a powerful tool which is called as the tablet. We do even basic budgeting, the budget planning, the record maintenance. Sometimes the people call it as the Excel stores the data. I just enjoy the way how they say it stores the data, it consumes the data, it eats the data. And now the question is, if Excel says I'm having too much data, if Excel says I'm trying hard to process whatever you want to see, then what is required? You will have to move from Excel to the statistical tools. Maybe a Python or R will solve your problem when it is a huge data. And that's the only difference which I wanted to bring at a very nutshell. Now, when we have statistical functions, when I use the Excel here for the demonstration, data analysis tool pack is what I'll be using. And that data analysis tool pack helps us in terms of defining and describing the business data, which basically helps you to identify some meaningful insights. And this is, of course, a modern enterprise wherein each and every person is so excited to see and bring out the insights of the data, whatever they have. Now, the business applications of the Excel data, when we have at a different level, let's say in the context of the finance and the accounting, maybe the financial statement analysis or budgeting and the forecast, you will be bringing out the regression. You will say, I have an independent variable, I have a dependent variable, and then you will say, can I predict the sales for my organization? When I know that, what is the price and what is the advertising cost? In that case, what is the likely sales which can be seen in the next quarter? Maybe that will help you to identify the sales revenue, and then followed by the last item, which is called as the net profit. Can we? Yeah, we can actually. That can be done. And in the context of the marketing and the product management, yeah, even for them also it is very much required. Maybe on a quarterly or a monthly, the data drag up, the sales target, the plan of the marketing strategies on the basis of the historical data. How is that they are trying to summarize in terms of meeting the customer expectation? And when we talk about the human resource, yeah, even for them also it is required. They discover the trends based on the data, whatever they have captured from the from their employees, summarizes the expenses and they better understand like how workforce can be spread at the different cost units. And the record details, of course, the HR is also now having a kind of hands-on with the Excel. Now, when we talk about at the different aspect of the nature of the sectors, this slide basically helps any person who want to deal with the Excel. I'll not be quoting whatever I have over there. It is for you guys to read it. And when I open my Excel, probably I'll be covering most of the things, because when you say, I know Excel, now how quickly you can transform that Excel skill, whatever you have, and then get the things done quickly is what my question is. So we have some basic functions as well as the advanced functions. Basic functions anyway, I'll not be touching it upon. These are the core aspects of any analysis which you start with the Excel. Therefore, now when I say this is very important, how do I do that? Why don't we have a kind of quick warm-up using Excel? Even my hands are actually waiting to play around on this keyboard. Let me switch to the Excel file. Yeah, I think this file is visible to everyone. I've used the mutual fund data. Now, when I say data, I have around 173 mutual fund schemes data, which consists of the different parameters. Say the fund name, I have a fund name, amphi code, inception date, fund type, like that. I have the pin-to-pin information about these mutual fund schemes, and also the calculated values already which are available for us. Let's say the average daily return, the annualized return, variance, standard deviation, skewness, kurtosis, annualized standard deviation, like that. You can see here CAPM calculation, relationship, correlation, R square, performance measures. Now it is looking so beautiful, you know, this data. When I say this is looking so beautiful, can I make some meaningful insight of this? Yeah, I can. Now this is an ocean for me because I'm just playing around here. I'm not using a mouse because I just want to quickly do whatever my mind is actually instructing me to get the things done. to figure out the meaningful insights. I might be a bit fast, but yes, what I'm trying to say is when we are using the Excel, remember this: if you can ignore, if you can stop using the mouse or a touchpad, that is the day where you stepped into something called as the science, say data science and data scientist oriented job, or something related to the analytics. Why? Because if I use a mouse and if I just say scroll down the things, how much time it takes to know like what kind of data I have. I'll be having many things in my mind in terms of finding some meaningful insights. I might be instantly getting an idea saying that I want to know what kind of crisis categories are available in this database, or maybe I'm interested to know that which mutual fund scheme is highly correlated with the Indian market, stock market, in line with the BSE Sensex, or I might be interested to know which scheme has got the highest return. Now, these kind of questions do pop up now when I can see such a kind of questions. Now, probably this is one of the basic steps which I'm performing here. I see this as a filter, advanced filter. You can do this. I'm using just a quick, say, I'm using shift space bar and then selecting the entire row. Then I'm using Alt D F. It's a kind of like magic applying an advanced filter over there automatically. And now I'm using control right arrow key, which takes me to the right dead end. Now, if I want to go and see what is the last column in the Excel, immediately I'll do control and then I'll move it towards right side. XFD is what the last column in this Excel is. And if I want to know what is the last cell in this, yeah, it is a 1,04,000. Sorry, 10 lakh. Okay, 1,04,8576 and XFD. Now, if I do control home, how does it move? It moves straight away to the A1. So these kind of shortcuts help you to make the kind of analysis in a way which you would like to see. Now, very first point, what is triggering to my mind is I want to know in this mutual fund database, when I say that I have a mutual fund schemes, nothing but the mutual fund names. Along with that, we have a CRISIL category. CRISIL happens to be the credit rating agency. Now, if I want to see how many categories are available in this database, probably I'll be, if I use a mouse and then I'll click on this and then I'll open and then I'll just say scroll down like this and then I see the list of CRISIL categories. But how do I do without using that mouse? Yeah, I'm just pressing the Alt as well as the down arrow key and then I can see here the big list. Now, when I see the big list, if I want to just see the mutual fund schemes only for the index funds, again, I'll deselect and then I'll select index fund and then I click on and then I can see the list of funds which are available in the category of, what is the category? The category of index funds. Now, how quickly I can do this? I'll just say shift spacebar, Alt DFF. I'll just use control and the right arrow key, the dead end of the right side, Alt and then down arrow key. I'll just say deselect using the arrow key as well as the space bar. Then I'll click on the index funds and then say enter, and then I can see here the list of schemes which are available. Again, this is a part of the analysis. How much time it takes using a mouse touchpad and then bringing out the filtered data, and how much time it takes when you're using a shortcut. This is one way of looking into the data, whatever you would like to see. The filter option which I wanted to show you is. Now, we also have something called as a conditional formatting. Now, I cannot demonstrate all the items, whatever I have in the conditional formatting, but I can give a quick kind of hint saying that because Excel is all about the practicals, practice. Practice makes man perfect, and that is where now we have to play around with the Excel. Now, if I see here for the conditional formatting, the highlight cell rules, this helps me to identify right parameter based variables, or it helps me to make a kind of fill the color combination for the data, whatever I have in my Excel. I'll take a very simple example here. In the case of the minimum investment, I would like to apply this conditional formatting and then check the greater than, say greater than 5,000, and then I'll say that can be filled with a green. And then if I say okay, the entire column should have the application of 5,000 with a green symbol. Now, how do I select this entire column? I can do a very simple operation here. Shift, Control, and then down arrow key selects the entire column instead of dragging using a Excel, what is that, mouse or a touchpad. Even I don't remember that mouse. I stopped using the mouse last few years. I'll just quickly do a highlight cell rules. Now, greater than 5,000, it says can go with the green. And if you see here, it is highlighting everything. Why? Because I wanted to demonstrate this and then show you a negative output. When I say I want to see something greater than only 5,000 should be highlighted as a green, but it is not popping up. I repeat that my action here. I select the entire column. I click on the conditional formatting, highlight cells rule, greater than 5,000, and then say green. I say, okay, your 500 is highlighted with a green. Excel sometimes behave in an unexpected manner, and this is what I always claim when we talk about the Excel. Why? Because this is looking clean, and this is straight away my PhD thesis, which I used 2 years back. And this has been formatted in such a way I cannot do anything over this particular item. I mean to say the data, the edition, or in terms of the updation, because this has been protected. You can protect your Excel in such a way you want. Now, when I say you can use the mouse or a touchpad or even a shortcut key and then make some quick analysis, sometimes what happens is some brains are more quicker in terms of identifying, like, yes, I want to figure out that, I want to figure out this based on the AMC. Someone might come and say quickly, I want to see the asset management companies list. And he or she may get a list of 15 AMCs, asset management companies. And someone again someone might say that I want to know how many mutual fund schemes are available in this database for each asset management company. Someone might come and say, I want to see the minimum investment of 5,000 mutual fund schemes overall in this database. When people have such a kind of quick questions to figure out the answer, how do I fulfill that? Using one more powerful option, which is coming under here under the insert, which is called as pivot table. Let me bring out that pivot table here. I'll just delete it here. So select a table range. I'll select from starting with the serial number. I'll not be using a mouse or a touchpad. I'll say shift, right arrow key, control button, and it is selecting the entire row. Now I'll do down arrow key. The complete range has been selected. I'll say use a new worksheet. Then I'll say okay. Now this is something interesting. If someone comes here and then say, I want to know the total list of, 1 second, I just clicked on something. You guys are able to see my Excel, right?
Yes, we can see that.
Yeah, I just clicked on this button, red button, and this is taking me. Yeah, okay. So if someone says that I want to see the total CRISIL category and the mutual fund schemes, and suddenly someone comes to me and then says, in this database, we have a CRISIL category. The category consists of, see here, consists of 12 categories. And I want to know the total number of schemes. Now I can bring in any variable to the values and I can see here the count. I'll just quickly move to the sheet here, the database. I quickly move using a control and page up, page down. If you do control page up, it goes to the previous, control page down, it goes to the next sheet. Now, do we have 173? Yeah, I'll do shift, control, and then down arrow key. I can see here in the count 173. I can also use a function is equal to count and then select the entire range, and then you will be getting the total count. I can do that, but that seems to be so basic. But anyway, how does it look? It looks like this. I'll just say is equal to count. Then I'll select the complete column. Then I'll see 169 here. Why is that? If you see here, if I click on this, you will see 173. And when I use a function which is called as the count, 169, because A Amphi code is not available for the schemes, and that has not been read by the Excel. Now, I'll not be going with this function anyway. We are not talking about that. Let's quickly jump in here. We have 173 total mutual fund schemes. This we got to know, and we have around 12 categories which are coming under the CRISIL category. Someone might think that, okay, I want to know what is the maximum percentage of schemes captured by which category. I repeat my question. We are now interested to know what percentage of, what is the percentage of each CRISIL category which holds the mutual fund schemes, and which category is having the highest percentage of schemes. Now, I'll not be using any of the function, but just it's as good as playing with the Excel. You can see here, I just did a right click, show values as percentage of rank total. This is something like a messy. If anybody looks into the percentage here for this 12, it looks messy, and then the big number has to be looked into. Now, why don't we use the right arrow key and then say sort, and then click on the largest to smallest, and we have here the equity schemes with the percentage. I just selected this data. I clicked on F11, the shortcut key, after selecting the data, and automatically it popped up a visualization for me. How much time it took? I don't know, not even seconds. Let me switch here. Now, this is how, if you ask me any analysis can we do using a pivot table? Yeah, pivot table happens to be the robust one. Trust me, most of the researchers, before getting into so-called the sophisticated regression analysis, correlation analysis, basically with an advanced feature, the pivot table gives them a lot of insights. And I've seen the best research, best of best research, which is extracted on the basis of the pivot table here. Now, don't you think so? This looks so good. Can we make it more complicated, this particular table? Yeah, we can. Now, let me look into the AMC. I don't know the AMC list. Let me bring it to the column. Yeah, if I bring it to the column here, I can see the AMCs, whatever we have. Now, can we play around? Because if I see towards right, it is like a train. And this is not good for eyes as well as making the analysis. This says nonsense. Here we have just 12, and we here, I can see here I have total columns as 29. Now, how do I do that then? Have I been trained to do these things? No, not really. Just out of my experience and then playing with this data, I realized it. Yeah. Now, how does this look? Each category is having a data with a percentage because I did a calculation, and all the schemes are, the AMCs are available here. I can see 28 AMCs, asset management companies, which has got the data. This is a complicated one. Can we have the visualization for this? There is no yes or no. I just click on the F11. Now, when we do this kind of activity, we need to know whether that visualization makes sense. Excel throws everything. If I give an equation, if I give a function, if I give a formula, if I say I'm using a shortcut, it throws everything, because Excel never understands sensible and non-sensible. Therefore, we need to be sensible to know what is that we are likely to see. I'll just delete this now. This is fantastic. So this is the power of the pivot table. Now I have a small task. The task is that I've got some Amphi code, and I need to extract the fund name and AMC, along with that the CRISIL category for the Amphi codes, which are 30 here. You can see here the count is 30. For this 30 Amphi code, I would like to quickly have fund name, AMC, and CRISIL category. This can be done if I simply check here by making a Control C, and then page. If I do Alt Tab, Control F, Control V, and it takes me to Franklin India Blue Chip Fund. Now, how can I quickly get this done? This is again another powerful feature where we always say, look up the data, look the data. Now this sheet, this is a very small sheet, which is called as the exercise sheet. Now I want to extract some data, whatever I want to see it from the big database. So when we have our data which is ready, now I need to extract the data. Now go and look the data, whatever you want to have. go and look the data. You can look the data horizontally and you can look the data vertically. Now for this demonstration, I have the data vertically. Now when I have the data vertically, there is a strong debate actually when people are not so fond of this Excel and then the lookup operations. They say data looks in both the way. It is looking like a column, it is looking like an horizontal. Then how do you classify it as a column or a horizontal? Yeah, when you, I'll give a very simple answer for that. When you have the heading and followed by that you have a data, the number of observations for that particular variable in a column wise, which means that the column, so vertical. Now let me look the data here for these 30 amphi codes and then get the fund name as well as asset management company and the CRISIL category. How do I do that? Now I look up the data using a is equal to function. I'll not be talking about why I'm using equal to. We all know that we look up. I'm saying we look up, vertically look up the data. Now what is that I want to look up? I want to look up this amphi code, the one which I selected from the present sheet. Then I'll say comma. You know what one good thing about the Excel is? Excel itself is a trainer to you guys, at least when you are saying is equal to in the Excel. How? The moment when you say is equal to and then type in the function whatever you would like to have, Excel will start talking to you. You need to know the language of the Excel. Excel is asking you now, see here, something is in bold, it is saying table array, it is asking you to get the table array. Now I'll just delete this A2. The moment I typed in VLOOKUP and then open the bracket, it says lookup value. Anything which is bold, which means that Excel is talking to you. Excel is talking to me and it is saying, what is the lookup value? Then I say the lookup value is this. For this code, I would like to have the fund name. And now Excel is saying, you have selected a lookup value and you missed something, that is the comma. Yes. And it is asking me, go get the table array. Go get the table array, which means that the database. Now, how do I move? The Alt tab, and then I'll start from the amphi code here. I have the amphi code. Now from that sheet, that spreadsheet to this spreadsheet, I need to link it. And now this can be called as linking the data in a lookup operation. Now I'll select this code. And what is it I want? I want the fund name. I'm just selecting it. You can see. I'll select the fund code and then I'll use a shift and then I'll take a right arrow key. Now, from the entire database, I would like to know that fund name for that amphi code. So control shift down arrow key. The complete columns have to be selected. Now Excel is talking to me and it says put a comma. The moment I put a comma, it says column index number, which means that how many columns you have selected. I have selected only 2 columns. One is the code and the second is the fund name. So I'll just type in 2 and it says put a comma. I put a comma. Now the moment I put a comma, Excel is talking to me. Let us not be hurried. It is saying you want a approximate match or you want an exact match. The best practice in the world and the industry is to get the exact match. You can type in FALSE false, or you can select false from the option whatever you're seeing here. False, you can select. You know what I'm used for? Instead of typing the false, I'm used for putting a 0. 0 is a false in the Excel. I close the bracket and then I hit enter. The moment I hit enter, I get the output. And what is the thing I'll do? I'll just say double click. It's done. Otherwise, I'll just do Control Z. What I'll do, I'll just use this operation quickly because I don't want to touch the touchpad and then do a double click. So I can also do that. Now, this is what the operation is called as, to look up the operation, whatever you would like to have, maybe vertically or horizontally. Now, any code you talk about, you know the fund name. Now, if I just delete this data and it is now hash in it. Control Z. Now we have this data. Before I move to the next item, I just want to quickly say something here. I know most of the people are used for it. I want to copy this 30 mutual fund names as the output which I got here into a different sheet. Let me get a Control N and it's a new sheet. Now Control N. Amphi code and the fund name. I want to select the complete column. I'll do Control C, Alt tab, then I do Control V, and then I get the data here. you still see the formula which is copy pasted. Sometimes what happens is if you copy paste this copy and then paste somewhere, it becomes NA. We all know that most of the people are aware of it using a paste special values. Yes, that can be done. Yeah, that is one of the powerful feature. Now here itself I'll just select the complete column, Control C, and then I'll do something. I'll show you something and then I'll explain you. I got the output here. But if I do the same thing here, Control C and then Control V, let me paste here. I'm not getting the output because if I see here NA, every cell has got the formula. But if I see here, formula has been removed. So what did I do? As I already said, I just did copying the things and then I want to paste here. I'll click on the paste and you can see paste values. It's one of the beautiful options. The number formatting also you want to have the same. Yeah, click on that and the formatting also remains same. And this is how you extract the data using a lookup operation, paste special values. How did I do, by the way, using a shortcut? Let me quickly do it now, just for the sake of fun here with the Excel plane for the analysis. Control Alt V, and there is a window. I'll use a down arrow key for the values. Then I hit OK, which means that the enter, and I get the output here. This is how we get the data using. I just do Control W now. Then I say don't save. I don't want that. This is the task sheet which I was working on. I don't want this sheet now. I'll just say Control W. Then I say don't save using a shortcut key. Now this is at a very macro level when we use a function which is called as the conditional formatting or insert, and then you go to the pivot table and then you apply multiple factors for the, say, let me get into the sheet here. Yeah, you apply a lot of parameters by selecting the categories from the pivot table fields for making the analysis, and then that looks good. Now suddenly something is happening here. Let me remove this AMC and then get the trisel category. Yeah, this is where we were with. You know what, this is really sensible when we have the different type of parameters, and if you want to do anything, age of the fund, and I get some of the age. I just wanted to show this one. It says it has captured the sum of age because it is coming under the values. If you see here, each trisel category has got the sum of age, but how can I do the average age of each category? Now average age of means what? The age of the mutual fund scheme, which is here. I have set the date as 31st March 2018, and then I figured out what is the age of each mutual fund scheme, and I've calculated here. At the category level, trisel category level, I just wanted to have the average age for the trisel category. Now, if I just do the sort, the largest number, let me quickly, yeah, 17 is the average aggressive hybrid category, and that is a sensible one. But in terms of the total number of schemes as a percentage, it is a different category. So this is how you can play around with the pivot table. I'm sorry I might be a bit fast, but it is seriously not a fast. I'm at a dead slow using just some of the functions. Now we have got something here interesting. I talked about the data analysis tool pack. In the interest of the time, I have to quickly cover that. In your Excel, I would definitely ask you to go click data and then check whether you have the data analysis here. If you do not see data analysis here, it is very simple. You click on the file, you click on the options, and you click on the add-ins. Manage Excel add-ins. If you say go here, you will see add-ins available. Analysis tool pack VBA. We have Euro currency tools. I always use eViews, econometrics, solver add-in, stat tools. Stat tool is the external, the add-in, the software which I use for making the analysis. And you click on OK, and automatically that will be built in your Excel for the data analysis. Now, How do I do? What do I do with this data analysis? Anyway, I'll not be giving you a lecture saying that what test you need to do and which test when to do and how to do. But let's get used for this. When I click on the data analysis, yeah, this data analysis talks about the ANOVA, correlation, covariance, descriptive statistics, like that. You have many things. Now, when we have many things, it is difficult actually to figure out what to be done. Trust me. When you have a meal plate, and the meal plate, when it is a full meal, you have a lot of variety of sweets and so delicious things to eat. The first thing is, when I look into the plate, at least for me, when I look into the plate, I'll be getting confused. I'm fond of sweet always, and if I see more than 2 to 3 types of sweets, then I'll be getting confused, saying which one to eat. Now I need to know according to my preference and the taste, and the one which I like and love most, I should take it. In a similar way, now when we have the different analysis tool packs, with that the data analysis tool pack, we have different tests. Now, how do I do? What do I do? What it stands for? Let's take very few minutes. Anyway, we started our session late, so I'll not be taking much time, but I'll definitely show you we can play around with this. I'll just say escape. That disappeared. I have a scores now. The scores, 14 observations I have. For these 14 observations, I want to apply descriptive statistics. Now, I'll not be giving a lecture on what is descriptive statistics, but we will see what is that, and we will be able to understand what is that. Descriptive statistics. I'll say okay. It says give me the input. I can select the complete column. How did I do? Control Shift down arrow key. I selected the entire column, the scores, whatever I have. Then I'll say label is in the first row. What is that I would like to have? I would like to have summary of statistics, the basic statistics. Any research you talk about, generally they start with the descriptive statistics. I'll tell you why. Now let me get this in a new workbook. Let me click on OK. It runs and it throws some descriptive statistics. This is looking beautiful. I know what is the meaning of beautiful here. Mean, standard error, median mode, standard deviation, sample variance, kurtosis, skewness, range, min, max, sum, count. So many things automatically calculated for us. Now, what is that I want to understand from this? Let me go to that scores. I have a different scores, 14 observations. On these observations, if I want to understand this 14 observations statistically, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Any number you select, any numbers you select, and then use our descriptive statistics. It's our ready package. This will be our output for you. And this output says we have 14 observations, and the total of that 14 observation is 1137. And the maximum observation in that selected range is 100, and the minimum range is 58. The range you can see is 48. The skewness, kurtosis, sample variance, standard deviation. Standard kurtosis, skewness, I'll take a pause. Before that, we'll go to the variance. What is the variance? Variance is nothing but from one observation to the observation, what is the difference or what is the variation? And that variation is how much standard? It is 15 from one observation to the other observation. Mode, the number which is appearing many times, 93. The median, the highest midpoint in the given data set is 85. The standard error within the observation with a deviation from each and every observation is around 4. The average of the 14 observation happens to be 81. Now, I have no PPT, but yes, when we have the just 14 observation, when we got quickly the descriptive statistics, we can talk hell about it using this as the item. Now, quickly, in just few seconds, what is this kurtosis and the skewness? Kurtosis, I have got minus 1.42, minus 0.402 for skewness. Yes, you know what? When we talk about the analysis and when we say research, when we say reliability, when we say we need to have a proper analysis, there is a standard rule which says that the data should be normally distributed, which is nothing but the bell shape. Maybe you can remember from your degree days, from the quantitative techniques, data should be normally distributed. If the data is not normal, if the data is moving towards right or towards left, if the data is having too much volatile data, too much variant data, and it will be having a kind of thin. How it looks? It looks like this. Skewness. You can see here the shape of the distribution. If it is so thin, it is called as lepto, meso, and then platy. And when we talk about the skewness, yeah, we always say whether the data is moving towards right or towards left. What this help? What kind of observation one can do from this? If at all, if the data, whatever we have, is of at a standard which is above average and it is moving towards extreme right side, then you need to be aware of that your data is highly skewed towards the right hand side. If it is below average, majority of the observations are, if the below average, then your data will be moving towards the left side. Such a kind of visualization can be done with the help of a histogram, and the sample size, I've just used one screenshot here. If you use a very less and a simple sample data, the skewness and kurtosis happens to be like say 3.9 and 1.9. When you have a huge sample size data, almost kurtosis and your skewness will be close to 0, which means that data is normally distributed or bell-shaped data. In a similar way, when we use the data analysis, yeah, we have a lot of things here. Why don't we do another experiment on the data? Let's do the ANOVA here. I'll give a hypothetical case. We have the salaries of people who have a degree in economics, medicine, or history. We have the salary, people coming from a different stream. Economics has got 9 observations, medicine has got 7 observations, history has got 9 observations. Now, I want to test ANOVA. When I say I want to test ANOVA, I'll not be again giving a lecture, but I'll just show you the one-way analysis of variance is used to determine whether there are any significant differences between the average of 2 or more than 3 independent or unrelated groups. We have the unrelated groups here, which are called as economics, medicine, history. Now, what is it I can do from this data? I really don't know what I can do, but let me try and do that. Data analysis. Let me go to the ANOVA single factor. And then I say, okay, it says, give me a input range. Let me select the complete input. And I should say labels are in the first row and new worksheet. Let me get it in a new workbook. I'll just say, okay. Excel throws everything, but what is that? Now that is the question. I'll come to that. When you did a ANOVA, which is the standard test, basically, which helps you to figure out the variances between each independent variable. Economics, the people who are getting the different salaries under the degree of economics has nothing to do with the medicine, and medicine has nothing to do with the history. In the similar case, with the history, with medicine and the economics, nothing to do with that. Now, I just applied a test which is called as the ANOVA, and what the test is talking about, I got the output here, the output which I got it in a different sheet. Now, using this output, I'll be a little more complicated using some technical terms. I'll be concluding this by saying F value 15.196. I'll just highlight that. With the F critical value, I'll say if F is greater than F critical value, there is a standard rule saying that we reject the null hypothesis. And yes, we are rejecting it. And that is what I've written in the first line. So when we reject the null hypothesis, what does it mean? It means that the average or the mean of these 3 population coming from different groups are not all equal. At least one of the means is different. Definitely every degree oriented salaried people average is different from one another. Do I need to check that? Yes, I might check that. And this is how I get the response on that. Now, is this the ultimate test which we have to conduct? No. This, I mean, when you want to apply the ANOVA, just remember these examples. The owner is interested to know the average daily sale of new brand at 3 metro cities. Maybe for that you can just check around, because owner is having different branches and he wants to check for that average daily sale for a new brand at 3 metro cities, and 3 metro cities using this ANOVA, yeah, you can make some sensible. Our vice chancellor is interested to know the average CGPA of 3 institutes. You have 3 different institutes, and the average sale of the new brand of gasoline is the same in all 3 metro cities. I've read it as H0, which means that the null hypothesis. Null hypothesis always says that under the given constant, nothing is changing. So you go and test statistically whether there is a significant change or not. I'll try and ensure that I'll not be using much technical terms. Now, when we say we have a F-test, what does F-test do? This basically teaches how to perform F-test using the Excel, and I'll not be dragging it, and then I'll say data analysis, and then I select F-test. I can click on OK, and then I can select the data, male, female, whatever I have here. This data is talking about study hours of 6 female students and 5 male students. Now, what is it I can bring out from this data? I'll not run the test, because now you got to know data analysis, and then clicking a test, you can do something here. I have the output. With that output, what I can see, you can see that the observation for the male and female, the average for female study hours is 33 and for male is 24.8, and that is what the data we have, study hours. What can we interpret from this? It is very simple to see. If you look into each observation, you will say, oh, first female has got 26 hours. Oh, one of the female has got the 52 hours. Yeah, individual observation speaks, but at the outset, when you say you are applying the statistics, how is that you can do? Here, for the data, the conclusion is that the variances of 2 populations are unequal, which means that the deviation for a female category in terms of the study hours is different from the male. I just checked it. You may ask me, why is it you checked it? It is quite obvious that the female will be having a longer study period when that is compared with the male. I don't know, but I cannot say, yes, it is for granted by oral comment. When we say we are statisticians, we will never give whatever we feel. We see, and we need to see how, using the statistical analysis. And F-test is one of that. T-test is also, again, one of the simple tests which can be identified to figure out the unique variances, or whether the variances are equal in both the categories or 2 or more independent variables. Something similar to that.
Manjunath sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for interrupting. I think we are receiving messages that most of the places there is this curfew due to this lockdown, so all of them have to leave the office and all this. But I think the session that is going and the feedbacks that we received are so well. All of them are demanding for a separate session altogether. So if you agree, we can if we can quickly sum up, or maybe before we could start a new function, I think we'll take this as a totally different session, maybe 1.5 hours, wherein you can do this in a much interactive and a better manner, is if at all, because this lockdown thing has come up. Unfortunately, people have to go back home, so let's not even I have to close the office, but I'm okay. I mean,
I got the point, sir. In fact, we started late. Give me just 2 minutes.
Sure, Manjunath sir, 2 minutes, and what we'll do is, and I definitely, because everyone is asking for another session, so we'll definitely have one more session only purely on these things, these tools, because these are something which we only studied once for our exams, statistics, but never used it. But I'm sure we are missing so many things if we start using this, in our profession, in our daily work. I think it will really give a lot of very good speaking reports.
Yes.
So, sir, 2 minutes if you can wind up, and then
perfect. Thank you. In fact, I was about to talk about the correlation for 3 different stocks, and then I was about to run a regression. When I want to run a regression, it is very simple that can I forecast my sales using the data, which is the variable called as the price and advertising? Yes, it is possible. Can we predict? Yes, we can predict. Can we forecast? Yes. For how many quarters? As long as Excel is allowing you to forecast the different quarter parameters and the sales numbers, yes, you can, when you know what is your independent variable and the dependent variable. Now, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. Let me jump into the disclaimer part now. The disclaimer is that, yes, this is the one which I wanted to say as a disclaimer. This is very much required. At least when people attend my session on the statistics, I always say all models are wrong. Beautifully explained by the authors in the textbooks, but only some are useful. I'm not saying this, and I'm truly inspired by an accidental statistician, George E.P. Box, who talks about the statistics and the models. You will see a lot of models which are available in the textbooks, as sir you rightly pointed out, we studied during our academics. But what is really making sense for me during my business, or to bring out the meaningful insights? Therefore, all models or all tests which I demonstrated are wrong. Then which is correct? Then which is useful? That you need to decide what is useful for your data, because data is a baby, and that baby has to be nurtured, or the data has to be nurtured in a way you want to treat it. By saying that, I would like to put a full stop on that, and then if any questions, people can come forward, sir.
Superb, Manjunath sir, amazing. What a end. Fantastic.
No, in fact, sir, that's true, because when we talk about the statistics, we see, you know what, sir, people come and say, they say, I want to do a structural equation modeling. I just ask a simple question: when you have this data, why you want to do that? People are making a hell lot of complicated life, sir, to be very frank. Pivot table and a quick hands-on with your Excel keyboard solve most of the problem. That is what my boss is required, and my boss is interested to create.
True that. All right, friends, that was amazing. And as I said, we'll have definitely have one more session. We'll, all left that has been left, be the regression, be the correlation, and be the, I think, more on F test also. I think we'll do that separately. And may I now invite another individual who has taken a lot of interest in technology, has been doing a lot of events, has been structuring a lot of events on technology with WRC, and who was a technocrat herself. And she's been really empowering a lot of young individuals in terms of how to adopt technology, and maybe do that a little bit in your CA practice. May I now request past chairman of Vasai branch and coordinator for today, CA Shweta Jain madam, to please share her comments, and let's give a well-deserved vote of thanks for Pankaj Roy Gupta sir and Manjunath sir both.
Thank you, Arpit. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah, so it was indeed a wonderful session, and what we understood from Mr. Pankaj Gupta is AI and data science is two most important things, and has become the two most important sought after technologies in today's time. And we all know that how important role technology is playing in nowadays in our day-to-day life. Many a times people think of data science and AI is the same thing, but they are not the same in reality. Artificial intelligence is used in the field of data science for its operation. And Mr. Gupta explained this to us, what is data science and its significance in financial functions. So friends, if we want to work on big data, data analytical and machine learning is like must. And Mr. Gupta, you have explained very well, rather I should say in a very simplified way, and with very relevant examples. So this is perfect justice to the topic. And I'm sure our participant must have benefited. And icing on the cake of Mr. Manjunath's session, really, it was wonderful. And how you explained and perfectly rightly said that how to excel in the Excel, and how we can how our work can be simplified with Excel functions, and then we would be able to play around with the data and numbers. So it was really a wonderful session. Both the session was excellent, wonderful. And thank you once again, both of you, for your valuable time and very important and knowledgeable session. And we expect in our near future programs also. Thank you so much. Last but not least, all the participants, thank you so much. Over to you, Arpit.
Thank you, Shwetaji. And friends, we are meeting again tomorrow. This is not the end of it. This is just the first part of it. Tomorrow we are talking about automations. What all can we do using automations? So we've got a fantastic speaker, and we've got someone from Amazon Inc. USA. The time when usually people are sleeping, early morning in USA, he would be here awake, trying to explain us about machine learning and what Amazon is doing in terms of machine learning. And if you want to understand that very well, I would advise all of you to please watch a small little documentary called The Social Dilemma on Netflix. Please watch that once, and we'll see you tomorrow again with a fantastic panel again, and more insights on this entire technology, data mining. And once we all become miners, I think we'll as we said, data is the most precious thing now. If we get that, we'll definitely be enriched. So thank you everyone for joining with us today, and see you tomorrow again 5 p.m. And thank you Manjunath ji and Pankaj Roy ji. These people are people have been asking about how to reach the speakers. Well, LinkedIn is the best thing to do. Second is these Google, you can do Google C4i4 Labs. Abhinav Fluid AI, you'll get his email ID also. We'll also share it with you. The presentations would be shared with you, and also more importantly, please subscribe the YouTube channel of WRC of ICI, because all of these important events would be uploaded on YouTube and will be available for you to view in future as well. So please feel free to subscribe to our channel and get updates, intimation about whatever is happening. All right. So thank you everyone once again. Have a great night. Travel safe. Go back home safe. And see you tomorrow again. Thank you, madam. Thank you, everyone. Mishra ji, please stop the recording and upload.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Manjunath sir, and thank you, Pankaj sir. See you soon again.